Hello, everyone. I now call this meeting to order. Please rise for our prayer.
Lord, I just want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to assemble tonight, Lord. And just want to thank you for all the blessings you bestow upon us on a daily basis. And just ask you to be with these council members tonight and the new ones coming up, Lord. And just ask that you be with them and help them to make the best decisions for our town. In your precious name, amen.
Please join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will have now a roll call. To confirm the form.
One moment, lost my pen, I'm sorry. Alderman Coulter?
Here.
Alderman Yarber?
Here.
Alderman Martin?
Here.
Alderman Perry?
Here.
We have a quorum. Now I ask for approval of the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Any discussion? If not, roll call vote, please. Pardon?
Can we discuss this agenda?
Yes?
On Bill 1428 ordinance, we voted to turn that over to the new council.
Right, but it came under old business, so it would need to be
So we
yes
have
or
to do that
no.
all again?
Yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Coulter?
Yay.
Alderman Yarber?
Yes.
Alderman Martin?
Yay.
Alderman Perry?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Under old business, we have the hay bid. We received one bid. The specifications and the bid sheet were in your packet. This is for the municipal airport property from Barn Hollow Cattle Company for $15 per ton. That is the only bid that we have.
Who is that from, Sherry?
Barn Hollow Cattle Company.
Is that,
Jerry Orchard is the contract person.
They partnered with Smith Boring last time.
okay. And how much was it per ton?
15 per ton,
And that's for which one?
municipal airport.
Didn't we have a higher bid on that last time? The one that we set all these rules to it?
I think it was like $16.50, if I remember correctly.
We had added that the Lyman fertilizer in Hayfield,
Right.
at least 2 or
Yeah,
3
we-
years, that was what was added.
Yeah, we did a bunch of rules on it.
So we need a motion to approve or reject this bid. And a decision whether we go out for bid again or not. Is there any motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Roll call vote, please. Any further discussion? I'm sorry.
Eddie, what do you think the chances are putting it out again and trying it again if we think if it's worth a little more than that?
I think the problem you're running into now is we're getting pretty close, pretty deep into the growing season. I mean, yeah, a higher amount would have been better. But when, of course, whenever you put stipulations on it, then you're gonna limit the amount of people that are interested in bidding. I mean, I don't know what you wanna do about the Y Highway property. Since we didn't even get anything, you might put that one out again. But as far as the airport, that's usually the best, out of the two, that's the best hay. The farther out you push it, the less quality the hay's gonna be if they don't get fertilizer on it. So,
So, should we put the Y Highway back out for,
it wouldn't hurt, try and get some more bids in on it.
right? Well, I feel like they need to fertilize and take care of it. They can't just keep cutting hay off of it.
Yeah. And they have been, I mean, from what I've seen from the airport property, the last several years, it's been fertilized pretty good. I mean, I don't know what they're putting on it, you know, they might be just putting basic, and if they're doing soil sample, that may be all it needs. And, you know, as far as the lime goes, if they do a soil sample, sometimes it don't necessarily need lime. It can actually get too much and get lime locked and hinder them just as much. So, I mean, if they do a soil sample and it comes back and says, hey, you're good on lime, in my opinion, if they could supply that to the council, you know, if that's something you want to require. You know, if they're gonna go as far as doing a soil sample, it might, the money that they would be throwing at lime, they could put it for the actual fertilizer it needs. So, you know, if somebody cares about it enough to try and get the most out of it, that's what they would do. So, but yeah, I mean, if it was me, you know, as late as we're getting into it, I mean, most people have already got the fertilizer on. I know most of the hay fields I've seen have got the fertilizer tracks in them. So, I would say, my suggestion would be to accept the airport bid and then put Y Highway back out again and see if we can get some more on it.
Sounds good.
That's just my opinion.
Sounds good.
So the
Okay,
motion
would-
need to be changed.
Well, yes, would need a motion to state that.
I make the motion that we put the Y Highway back out on bids again
And accept this
and accept this bid.
for the airport. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Alderman Yarber,
Yes.
Alderman Martin,
Yes.
Alderman Perry,
Yes.
Alderwoman Coulter.
Aye.
Okay, the next item is bill number 1428, ordinance 1766, that was tabled from last meeting. That's why it is under old business.
Well, I make a motion that we move it down into new business and let the new council vote on it.
Just move it down.
Move it down.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Any discussion? All in favor to move item number 2 under old business down to new business, say aye.
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 Okay. The next item is the Fry Municipal Software that was presented at the last meeting. There were some questions about references and such, and Jessica has done the research on this, so I'm asking her to present this again to the council.
I started doing my research by,
Please go to the
oh,
microphone.
I'm sorry. I started doing my research by the fact that G-Works came in and said that we were needing to move to the cloud, and we had no choice to do that. I spoke to my fellow city clerks who are all in the same boat, the people that use G-Works that haven't transferred over to the cloud yet, which is many of them. And there's been a large conversation about, who are you going to? A lot of people want to move. And so I started gathering information that way. I looked at some other software companies that were recommended. Some were more expensive, some were not recommended at all. And so that's why I solely focused on Fry after that. And Fry did 3 1.5-hour presentations, which actually some of them were longer than that. Any questions that we had about any of their modules, they answered with ease. The software that they presented to us is amazing in what it has the ability to do. There wasn't any stone left unturned as far as the questions that we had or the ability that they had the information to provide to us. So I obtained some references, and I included them in there. I also understood that you wanted some information on our computer capabilities to handle the software, and they said that that isn't a problem, that what they need for the software does not take up much space at all, and that we could continue with G-Works and overlap with the Fry, and that there's no issue with it at all. So then I reached out to some fellow city clerks who said that they were moving over to Fry Communications it's an old business from my younger days, to Fry Municipal Software. And they were in the stages of implementing it. They hadn't gone on board with it yet, but one of the references told G-Works that they were no longer going to be with them. And G-Works cut them off, dead. That was it, no more information. But they had contacted Fry in the meantime, and Fry said, I think we can do this for you. And they did. Practically overnight, they got all of their information moved over. So I asked them how that transition went, and they said it was wonderful. I'm going to say that the general consensus is that their customer service is bar none. Right now, when we have an issue with something with G-Works, which is often, we have to submit what's called a ticket, and then we have to wait for G-Works to respond to us. That takes anywhere from 2 hours to, I'm still waiting for a response from February, and I've reached out to them 4 times on my issue. But with Fry, you are assigned one person. So if you have an issue, you call them, your one person takes care of you. And they get to know each person's personality in your city hall, and so they know, a little bit more about you and how to convey the information to you and everything. Every single person that I've talked to had no issues with their customer service at all. So I provided 3 references, and I felt that maybe there should be a couple more. So I reached out to a few more clerks today, and I wanted to stay within Missouri. But with the whole G-Works thing that has happened, Fry is based out of Kentucky, but they do, I think, Nebraska, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri. Missouri is fairly new to them. They have a few businesses here. One is called Raytown Water Company that they've been with for over 10 years. But as far as what's happened with G-Works, now people are really jumping on this need for another software, and they've contacted Fry, and Fry said, okay, we'll delve into Missouri a little bit more. So some of the people that I contacted, they're still onboarding, and I said, well, how's your experience been with that? And they said, we've had none. Everything's been great. So every single person that I've talked to has had a wonderful experience with them. I asked everybody, what are your pros and what are your cons? And the only con that I got from anybody was the fact that one of the cities got free checks from their bank in order to do their accounting. And now they're not. They have to pay for their checks. That is the only con that I have had from the, I believe, 7 people that I've reached out to. So one of the places I spoke to today was in Indiana, and I think they're the ones that have been with them for 17 years. And the other one is in Kentucky, and they've been with them for over 20. Oh, I'm sorry. The Indiana was, they started in 2017, and the one in Kentucky has been with them for over 20 years. And I said, tell me you're good, tell me you're bad. So they did. And like I said, their customer service is bar none. Every module overlaps with each other. So right now, we have to put information in one module, then we have to go to the next module or the next module. And, we're entering several times to get one task accomplished. And this, you put it in one module and it goes to all of them. Let's see, payroll, for example, would go out to all of our employees. If they have any information that they need, that they come to me now for, they can go on the computer themselves and get it. They can get, I think they said up to 2 years worth of pay stubs, they can go print out an extra W-2, they'll have access to their sick time, their comp time, their vacation time, where right now with G-Works, and G-Works is aware of this glitch and it's never been fixed, but in the office here, we have one set of numbers for people, but out in the field, they get different numbers for their comp time and their vacation and their sick time. So they constantly call to see like, hey, what are our hours? Trying to think. They can also, put in notes like we do now. But everything would pretty much be hands-off for City Hall in order to process payroll. Let's see. On the utilities, one of the really neat features that I thought was, right now, we have to go in and manually audit each account and look to see if, people, come in and tell us, hey, my water bill, I've used 22,000 gallons, that's ridiculous. So we look it up and we're like, oh, that's not the norm for you. You're normally like 2,000 or 3,000 gallons. So that's how we discover that there's a water leak. There's no red flag for us or anything to notice these things. With their software, you can put in parameters, like if the numbers are low or if the numbers are high. You can put in for each individual account what would be out of the norm. You can put in if people have a swimming pool. You can put in when they fill their swimming pool. Like, all of this is hands-off for us. It wouldn't, we wouldn't need to do manual auditing. Trying to think what else there was. Accounts payable, that was pretty clean. We could clean up all of our, we have thousands of accounts on our system that have been there for years, that have not been used in years.
David, can I ask a question?
Mhm.
On the training part, I noticed that, is that all figured in that first year on that 34,000?
It is.
So this page, where's it at? I just had it.
Training's on
18. Because it come up to like $18,000. But on the one page talking about what kind of training it was, I noticed it said it wasn't included in the base price.
And that's on page 18?
No, it's on page 24. Right up at the top underneath the.
Okay,
So I think
so
it
that's,
first talks about like a webinar.
okay, so they would spend, I think 3 days training each person, or they can send somebody here, so that's what page 24 is about. They can send somebody here to train us in person, or we can go there to train in person. We're not opting for that.
Online training, I think. Online training. If they come here, we have to go there, I think.
Okay, so even on that, so this, this is what it's gonna cost, for three days is $4,400 if we do it online,
No, that's if they came here, physically came here.
and that's per person.
I didn't ask about that because that's not what we're looking to do. We're just looking to do something online. Like a webinar.
Because that, on 18 is the 18,972 for the systems options quote, where it lists the web sessions, and then on the quote summary, that 18,000 is there. And if you see on page 18, that website setup for the city website, a $2,000 charge, and that's waived in their quote summary. But it's included in the 18,000, but they've taken it off in the total.
So this $18,000 is added into that 34, it's included into that $34,000.
Yeah, on that first page.
Right. Did you ever find out, we asked last month, how much that G-Works was gonna cost us to go to, get all of our information transferred over to us?
So I did talk to Fry, and they said that we are not the only ones in this boat, and everybody that they are working with to onboard, including the ones that got completely shut off, they have been able to gather the information that they need in order to take it from G-Works to put it on the new system.
Well, I know, we had a person that did, got information from G-Works and put it in your own computer, and it cost quite a bit, right?
I did ask G-Works if there would be a fee, and they said it would be $1,000 a module if we needed to tap into their information, for lack of a better way of
And
saying
how
it.
many modules have we got?
4, I guess. Utilities, payroll, general ledger, and accounts payable. I guess maybe not included with utilities. I would think it is. It's either 4 or 5. But again, Fry is telling us that they can,
Even with that, the price difference is so much different now,
yes,
that it's still gonna be a
Yeah,
much better
because
deal
it-
if we have to do that.
right, because we're looking at 26.4, I believe is what G-Works was. That's what we paid in December. That's what we will have to pay in December of 25, and it'll only go up from there. And in your packet is the 5-year contract. The first year is the 34,000, and then it goes like to 17, 18, with a guarantee of a 2% increase each year.
And we're gonna have to do like that one company, buy all new checks from Fry? Because it says in here, you almost have to use their checks.
I'm not sure that it's Fry checks, but it's probably a standard type of check.
Oh, I noticed on here, okay, page 13,
13?
yeah, utility data conversion, it'll take them years to get all of our utilities over. That's what it shows.
Yeah, that's what it says. That is not what I've heard at all from anybody. It's normally about 120-day implementation time.
Okay, and then I also noticed additional expense, if I can find it, I had it marked. Our utility billing, what do we do with that right now? Do we print that off? Here we are. Print and mail with data incorporated.
What
Do
page
we
you
have
on?
to buy those? It is page 23, but I think it's actually, what I was looking at was going to be on page, there we go. It's not got a page number, it's right after page 25. It says Go Prints Postcard Billing Form.
Okay, so they have a paper option that we could print on a piece of paper and mail out, or it can be on the postcards. I don't think the exact ones that we use now, but it would be the same format.
What do we do now? Where do
The
we-
postcards.
Yeah, but where do we get those from? G-Works or
No.
we order them?
We order them.
Okay, so we're paying for them now,
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
But would they be a different postcard than we're using now?
Well, if you look, Judy, on page, like I said, what after that postcard billing form, it basically, it looks kind of real
Similar,
similar.
yeah, similar.
And the $1,800 for 12,000 of them?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Approximately, do you know any idea how many months we're using? Do we mail out right now? Any idea?
That'd be
On the utilities?
1,144?
Well, I'd say probably closer to 1,500.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That'd be good.
But they're not all mailed out, though, some don't get,
Oh, some of them do paperless.
yeah, they're on paper. I mean, some of them just get it off the web or the portal.
Another question. This, okay, would this include in there, like, okay, if an employee comes in and then they clock in, like, down at the maintenance shed,
Mhm.
they clock in and then they clock out, it automatically comes into a computer here.
Yep.
So there's no handwritten anything, you can
Correct.
just sit down and look and say, all right, they've worked 34 hours this week and that's what we're gonna pay you for, or you've worked 44 hours this week and they decide you're gonna take 4 hours and put into comp time, or we want that 4 hours put into, be paid for
Mhm.
overtime.
Mhm.
And that will come right straight to you, nothing in between.
Nope, everything's in
No
real
overtime
time.
required, no nothing.
That's what it does now, isn't it?
Yes, our payroll process is a little cumbersome. We need to go in and approve every single time card, every single week. And, after we go and approve every single employee, there's 2 departments that do approve their own employees, so, that helps. But then we have to go in and, put in a code, like if it's comp straight, if it's comp time, if it's double time, if it's 1099, if so we have to go then and do that for every single employee on top of it. One by one by one.
So how long is it gonna take Frey to do this?
What they said was 120 days. It takes about 4 months to implement. And
So
everybody
you
that I've
really don't
spoken
have
to, nobody has said any longer than that.
We're not gonna have to make a decision on it right now until, because we've already got this year paid.
We do have this year paid.
So we could wait till like September, make sure our finances is all in order before we jump into this.
Well, with Fry, because there's been, and I'm speaking for them, and I probably shouldn't, but they do not want to take on any additional customers that they would not be able to handle. They said that they're first come, first served is how it's working. So if September comes and they've already made commitments with other people, then we could be out.
And one thing we need to remember that after this 120 days of implementing and go live, we need to run them concurrently with G-Works. When we talked to them, that we would try, the ideal would be to have this implemented so that October, November, and December could be run concurrent to make sure that everything is implemented correctly before the end of the year.
When is our audits all gonna be done and everything?
That's on down in the agenda that will have to be decided today.
Could we not put this off until we find out how our finances is on our audit before we jump into this?
Well, that would put it till June or July.
Well, they'd give us plenty of time to, I hope.
We might look for some financing options if there's any out there, but it's something that we can do.
The other thing is, they would help us develop a website, and we could either keep it simple, or we could make it complex. Right now, to start, I would recommend to keep it simple, but all payments would be made, not all payments, but not cash payments or in person. But if people wanted to pay with a credit card or an ACH or whatever, it would just go right through that website. We wouldn't have all the different venues that we have now to use.
And I also read in there, they'll give us that, but each year after that, this year, we get it for $2,000 free, but every year after that, we pay $750. Is what I've read.
That would be the norm to have a website. I don't know about the exact dollar amount, but I mean, that is, you do have to pay the fee for.
There is a charge in here, yes. Annual web service hosting, $500. That's under the payroll.
What page did you see that on, Shirley?
16, that's for the payroll module.
Oh, okay.
And it's $750 for the utility, but that's if it's tied into the website.
So that they could, so that they
Because
could
now
be paid
they-
online.
Now, when people, there's an online option by logging into the portal, then there's a phone number. That's another option to pay,
And the court money,
and the court money also. There's like 4 different ways to pay online that we have now. And this would reduce it down to 1.
Well, my feeling, I would feel better if we just kind of hold off this till maybe the 1st of June and see how our finances turn out.
any other questions?
So would this be acceptable if we got the funding, or if at the end of even the end of May,
Let's just table it till May and
take it up again at that time and see what's doing?
that way if you can get funding and everything like that, more information on it. It sounds, I'm not complaining about the program. It does sound a lot easier than what we're working on. But can we just table it until May and see what kind of funding and
Another question I would have is, new personnel comes in the admin over here. Are we gonna be charged $3,000 to train them on the system?
But we should have a person well enough trained in the
Well,
office to
we don't, I
train.
mean, I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the possibilities on 2 years from now, or whatever, 3 years from now, if
That's true.
something was to occur, and we had to have somebody come in.
I wouldn't.
I'm just wondering if we would have to, once again, spend $4,000 or whatever it is to get somebody trained. They travel there, the expenses of them traveling there, or a hotel, whatever. They're based out of Kentucky, so I will assume that's where you have to go.
If you don't do like the webinar.
Right.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a web session.
But I will say that our employees now, nobody has been trained on G-Works. It's
Okay.
just one person teaching another. And that's another issue is, everybody has a certain way of doing things, and we don't even know really what our options are to do additional. And if
Could you find that out first by May?
I can,
Okay?
there was a couple other things.
G-Works is not willing to spend any time to train anybody.
No. Even the people that have gone with the cloud, with G-Works, they are not getting any customer service either. I've spoken to them as well. So right now, we're told that we're lacking the customer service help because everybody has moved over to the cloud, all of their employees, so that they can service the people that are moving or have moved to the cloud, and those people aren't getting any service either. So, and I only spoke to 2 people who have moved over to the cloud, and they're the ones who told me that. Nobody else has moved to the cloud yet.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we table it until May and we get
I'll second that.
I'll write that down in a moment, but I want to tell you one other thing. Everybody that I've spoken to, you know, they have their favorite reports or ways of reporting or things like that. And if the reports that they obtain from Fry are not exactly what they're used to, or if they want additional information or less or whatever, they can just call their customer service rep and they can reformat a report for them, lickety split. And then they say, when you take your information, it just goes right onto Excel.
Okay.
And there's no issues whatsoever. And the other thing is, they asked about our meter reading, and we gave, that they asked for the company that we used, and I don't remember what it's called. Vision metering. And they said they weren't familiar with that, so they contacted them, and they said, yep, no problem, we can do that.
Okay, did you ask him about like claims reports? In other words, you just mentioned that some of the reports were different, you called them. Okay, this right here is taking a year to get it.
I know, and I am pretty sure, Calvin, the reports that we saw or the information that we can obtain is user-friendly.
Right, well,
Yes, and like she's saying, we can specify what kind of reports we want, and they will create them for us, for lack of a better term.
The gentleman who showed us all the information on this program, he flew through it. He talked like a New Yorker. It was amazing. He barely took a breath, but if we had a question, he stopped dead in his tracks. And I thought, oh, you know, great, because he makes a great salesperson. He's very knowledgeable about the product. And what I found out is that he's a customer service rep. And I thought, oh, we call G-Works now, you talk to 3 different people, you get 3 different answers. And right now, we don't even know, like, who's giving us the right answer or the wrong answer. I had a question about something with loggers. I called G-Works, they gave me this information, and I thought, that doesn't sound right. And I called loggers, and they said, oh, no, it's this. So I went back to G-Works, and they said, oh, thanks for letting us know. So, I mean, it's just, it's been very reliable so far. So, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, we have a motion to table until the May meeting. Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. The next item is discussion of the dumpster rental. 'Cause I know, Calvin had asked for this to be put on the agenda to discuss the dumpster rates. In your packet is our current dumpster rental guidelines and fee, and the ordinance. And we've discovered that they really don't match. The ordinance is what is in the system for billing, and this rental says $2 per day rent.
Not trying to be funny, but surprise, surprise.
Yeah, well, we find, yes. So we will get that corrected, but the issue is, are we leaving these dumpster rates the same or changing them?
Does our people, our businesses that gets recyclable dumpsters, do they have to pay rent on those recyclable dumpsters?
I heard it, I don't know. We've got some that are just cardboard.
Well, those came from,
That would have been through the
Because
grant.
don't we get our
process.
recyclable dumpsters through a grant,
Yeah,
so it don't cost the city
did.
nothing for them?
yeah.
That's
yeah,
not an
how-
ongoing thing, though.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any in a while. The grant money has been used in the past several years to cover wages for the people working in the recycle department now. So I can't can't remember when the last time we purchased dumpsters with that money. I know if you use that grant money to purchase a dumpster, it can only be used for recyclable. But I don't know what or if the charge is. You know, like, for example, say the Anchor. I know they've got a cardboard or Signal, or I don't know what they're paying per month on that for a recycled dumpster.
Well,
Now,
this is my opinion. But if we are charging our businesses for for cardboard, because sanitation, when they send that off, they make a lot of money.
if they
So
sell it
them,
the right time.
them businesses could just easily take it and throw it in the dumpster, and then it's off to the trash, and then we have to pay fees on it, or, what's it called?
Tipping fees,
You
yeah.
got tipping fees on it at West Plains. So if our businesses are paying a fee for having a dumpster that they're recycling for us,
I would think that if they were bought on a grant for that purpose, that we wouldn't be charging them a fee, but that would, we'd have to research
Yeah.
that, because I
I'd
have
have
not
to
seen
dig.
anything.
but do you understand what I'm saying? If we've got companies that's saving their cardboard and their aluminum, and we're making money because we're recycling them, then we need to give that business a break on that dumpster.
It would be real similar to the no fee for disposing of metal items, because they take that and
Right.
sell it for, unless it's got Freon or something like that, we have to pay to have it vacuumed out. I just have to do some checking and see if there is a charge on it, you know.
Can we check into that,
Yeah, the recycled dumpster fees, I mean,
Mayor?
or if we're or do we need to get some more, or try for another grant?
Gail's not asking.
I'm sorry,
There is a charge on the recycling dumpster.
do you know what it is?
I believe it's $16.99.
Okay, because, I don't see this-
$16.99.
$16.99.
okay, because that must have
A
something
month?
with the
Yes.
grant, because it's not in this ordinance.
Is that on your monthly bill?
On CrossFit, yes.
Okay.
$16.99? Okay.
Well,
That'll
for
need to be-
$3 more, they could just throw it away.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, it's like the $2 per day.
We used to set it out, and they would just pick it up, and we set it outside, and they would just pick it up that way, because cardboard, we go through a lot.
right.
And then we received a dumpster, and then we've been paying for a dumpster.
Okay, we will definitely check into that. Because right now, the ordinance has dumpster rates. It says, city customers on the weekly route shall be $10 per yard. So extra pickup charge shall be $11 per yard. And then the monthly charges will be based upon the weekly rate volume computed by 4.333 weeks per month. So the current rate table, based upon the weekly pickup, a 2-yard would be $86.66, and a 4-yard, $173.32, and on up to the 10-yard. And then it says, construction dumpsters shall be rented based on the terms as described in the dumpster rental guidelines and fees agreement, which says the 2-yard would be $20 each time emptied plus $2 per day rent with a $20 deposit. But that doesn't match what you're paying. So,
Well, and there's a number of people out there that's getting a $20 a month dumpster that should be paying $27 and only paying $20. And
right. And
so
this
do
is-
we need to just like audit?
Well, all of our utility accounts need to be audited. That is something that just needs
When I
to be
looked,
done.
when I first looked at this, I went dumpster rental guidelines and fees. It said 2 yards, $2 per day. And I'm like, well, that's $60 a month. And then I look back here and it goes, it doesn't make, I mean, it doesn't say this right here, that this is a temporary
Over a 30 month, you'd be talking $60, and then 20 each time it was emptied. If that was weekly, then that would be
Well, I mean,
another $80, so,
but what I'm saying, it doesn't tell you this, that at $2 a day, if you just wanted to rent a dumpster to do a remodel in a house for 2 weeks, or to clean out a house for 2 weeks, there's no differential there,
correct.
and that's what I think you need.
So I just make a motion on this, that we kind of do an audit on this and bring it back next month, in May. And, because I think it's unfair for our businesses to go
Well,
through.
yeah, we've got really 2 issues here besides the recycled dumpsters.
Right.
Has it always, I mean, how long do you know that it's been so we could start looking?
I've been managing up there, I think this is 6 years, and so we've been paying at least six years.
Okay. Okay, a motion to table until May. We have a second.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Oh, Alderman Yarber did second. Any further discussion? All in favor to table until May? The dumpster rental rates. Say aye.
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 Let me make a couple of notes. So besides the recycled dumpster fees, then we really need to audit all of our commercial dumpster fees. To start with. Okay. The last item under old business is the Heritage Industrial Park. And in your packet, you have an email that Miles Smith, he was the gentleman that came and talked about this, because we had asked him sometime back how many employees or people from our area worked over there. And the numbers that he sent, he says, I just got the numbers in on all the zip codes that work in the industrial park. And the breakdown is as follows. 65% come from West Plains, 15% come from Willow Springs, 12% come from Mountain View, and 8% come from all other zip codes, including Arkansas.
And what percent do we pay?
15%.
15%?
Yeah. And his statement in here, without being exactly on the numbers, this is about as close as they get when it comes to reflecting the percentage investment each city makes to the total budget of ODC annually. It always amazes me how close the employment reflects the investment, and that's what he's talking about.
Let me ask a silly question here, I guess. If we wasn't in this, would these places not hire our people?
I don't know if that's, I don't think that's a,
I don't either.
I don't think there's any-
What are we paying for?
I think it's just a combination of the cities and the county basically working together.
Okay,
And of course, West Plains is much bigger, so they're gonna pay more.
right, right.
and they are bringing businesses in there. I know that our Beyond Organics that has a place over here, they've got a place in the industrial park. That's one that I know of.
It's kind of
So
a team,
this is just,
a team building with the cities and the county.
Okay.
so that's informational purposes only. Okay.
Ask questions, but we can answer something.
Now, moving on to new business. We have the swearing in of our new council members. And I want to thank Alderman Yarber and Alderman Martin for the serving that they did this past year.
We appreciate the opportunity. It's a real learning experience, and it's not an easy job, so lot to learn.
Okay. our city clerk will be giving the oath of office. And I guess I should introduce our new West Ward is Gail Wallander. East Ward is Jennifer McAdams.
I, Barbara Gail Wallander, do solemnly swear
I, Barbara Gail Wallander, do solemnly swear
that I possess all the qualifications required by law
that I possess all the qualifications required by law
for the office of West Ward Alderman in the cities of fourth class,
for the office of West Ward Alderman in the city of the fourth class,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
the Constitution of the state of Missouri,
the provisions of all laws affecting cities of this class,
the provisions of all laws affecting cities of the class,
the ordinances of the city of Mountain View, Missouri,
the ordinances of Mountain View, city of Missouri,
and faithfully demean myself while in office.
and faithfully demean myself while in office.
And raise your right hand, put your left hand on the Bible. I, Jennifer McAdams, do solemnly swear
I, Jennifer McAdams, do solemnly swear
that I possess all the qualifications required by law
that I possess all the qualifications required by law
for the office of East Ward Alderman
for the office of East Ward Alderman
in the cities of fourth class,
in the cities of fourth class,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Missouri,
the Constitution of the state of Missouri,
the provisions of all laws affecting cities of this class,
the provision of all laws affecting the city of this class,
the ordinances of the city of Mountain View, Missouri,
the ordinances of the city of Mountain View, Missouri,
and faithfully demean myself while in office.
and faithfully demean myself while in office.
If you will, come up.
You want us to get closer together?
Can we get a picture real quick of the new board?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we get a picture real quick of the new board?
Pardon?
A picture of the new board real quick?
Oh, okay. Everybody will just use your chairs this way.
Chair, I slide these off.
They're gonna be rude.
Yeah.
If you slide them all up.
Just give them to them.
Is this good?
Yes. All right, everybody, look right here. The count of three. 1, 2, 3. And then don't move.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, our first order, or next order, is the election of Mayor Pro Tem. Alderman Coulter has served as mayor pro tem this past year. Do we have a nomination
I would make a motion for her to,
for elect? I guess it's an election.
yeah, I would make a motion.
She is nominated. I'll get the word out in a minute. Gail Wallander has nominated Judy Coulter.
I'll second that.
Roll call, any discussion? Any other nominations? Roll call vote, please.
Alderwoman Wallander,
Yes.
Alderwoman McAdams,
Yeah.
Alderman Perry,
Yes.
Alderwoman Coulter,
I'll stay.
You should vote for
Vote
yourself.
for yourself.
I don't want to.
Okay. 3 yes votes and 1 abstention. Okay. Alderman Coulter, mayor pro tem. Okay, the next order is proposal to lease a tennis complex from Mountain View First Street Liberty School District, and Ryan Chowning is here to present his proposal, which you have in your packet. I think the city attorney has a comment or two to make about the wording.
I don't know if you wanted him to give his pitch and you guys
Yes.
ask questions, and then I can still ask questions
Yes,
if I have
yes.
them.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I didn't know if you wanted me to present it as a whole, or if you guys have all had a chance to see it. I mean, essentially what the school,
You said, what you said is in their packet, so.
Okay. So what the school district is hoping to accomplish is to obtain a partnership with the city and a long-term lease agreement, similar to what we have with the baseball field. And if any of you guys have seen the baseball field, we've made some marked improvements to the facility, all while the city maintains ownership of the property. So it's just something that we're looking at it as an opportunity to give an equitable experience for all of our student athletes, no matter what they choose to do with their time as far as extracurricular activities. You know, the tennis courts are in kind of rough shape. So this is something where like I said, we're trying to get a partnership with the city, you all maintaining ownership and us having a long-term lease in place, just so I can go to my board and we can go to our taxpayers and say, we have an agreement in place that allows us to make improvements to the facility without it being yanked out from under us at any point. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I included in the proposal, the bid that I obtained, and was actually obtained in December of 2023. And after some discussion, everything kind of stalled at that point. So I got back in touch with the same company, and because it's for the betterment of kids and for the betterment of city, they were willing to honor the quote from 2023, knowing that they could have increased charges, because like anything else, nothing has stayed the same or gotten cheaper. So this is, I was very pleased that she was willing to do that. Also on top of that, I obtained a $1,000 private donation for the purpose of what they call blended lines. Pickleball is a new thing, in everywhere. You guys have probably seen it, heard it, played it. But this is an opportunity to make one of the 2 tennis courts have blended lines that still allow you to play high school tennis matches or any kind of tennis matches, but you can also bring in a portable pickleball net, and you have the court there on each end of one tennis court, so it can be a tennis court or a pickleball court. So essentially, this is an opportunity for a city-owned facility to get a needed facelift. It will bring in, more people to play if it's in better shape, and it also makes it a more all-around facility offering pickleball opportunities as well. So it'd be
Deidre, did you see any hiccups in this, the way it was wrote?
So my question was about the resurfacing, where it says that it would be 32.5, but then it says which we would encumber with the lease agreement, but what are we encumbering and who is accepting the encumbrance? Is it the encumbrance going to apply and be on the city? Is the school going to be encumbered?
Yes.
Is the property going to be encumbered? Because
No.
normally that would go on the property.
So we, as the school district, would be encumbering the full 32.5 for the resurfacing.
Okay. So it wouldn't in any way actually attach to the court where the surfacing was being put, it would just be on the school, basically? Okay.
Yeah, this whole proposal is at no cost to the city of Mountain View. This is just an opportunity for our kids.
On the quote, the surfacing requirements by owner, there's make available a water and electrical source within 100 feet of the site. Where is,
The power is right there by the court.
okay,
We have a meter pit fairly close by that was originally ran to that brick water fountain, which the line is broke somewhere in there, so there is access.
but it's there already, okay. The tennis courts are part of the Land and Water Conservation Fund park, which includes Wayside Park, the tennis court, the golf course. So anything that's done on that will have to be approved by LWCF. And of course, we have to run this by Myrna also, who is our insurer. But neither one of those should be any problem. So, as with the baseball fields, I believe that you did draw up that lease, is that correct? Okay. So, one thing I would like to say, I was at a SCOCOG meeting today, and there was a lady there who really complimented me on the city's baseball fields. They had just been over here recently to the baseball field, and I did tell her that that was the school district.
Yeah, and so if you've seen the new concession stand and announcers building, our BOAG kids built that from the ground up.
Great.
So we turned that opportunity that you guys provided to us into a learning opportunity for our kids. Instead of just going out and buying a building, we had our kids do it from start to finish, so it was.
In speaking with Brian, you did say that you were looking at mid-May, so we would ask that the council approve this proposal to lease the tennis complex and ask Deidre to draw up the lease.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
I just want to make a comment and say that's a great opportunity to help get our youth
Very
involved.
much so.
That's what we need to do. We need to get these kids on board with all this stuff.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 And I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for looking out for our kids.
You bet. That's what I'm here for, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you guys. And if you have any questions, and Deidre knows where to find me.
Yeah.
We did this once already. I'm easy to find. Call me. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the minutes from the March 11th meeting. I know everyone up here was in attendance, so hopefully you can approve these minutes. Are there any questions? If not, I ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there any? You can vote on it. You were both in attendance at the meeting. We say there's no problem. But that's entirely up to you. Maybe we need a roll call vote.
You still got it. Do it that way if you.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay. Alderwoman McAdams.
I'm still worried about that because we was not.
Just abstain.
Yeah, I don't want to
Or vote no. Yes, no, or abstain.
abstain.
Alderman Perry.
Yes.
Alderwoman Coulter.
Yes.
Alderwoman Wallander.
I'll abstain.
Mayor McCann.
Yes. Okay, the next part are the department reports. Do you have any questions on those?
Yes, I did.
I've got a question. Okay, on this right here on the first page of the electric,
Mm-hmm.
I got a little question about this, the way it's wrote out and how they worded it, trim trees, work orders, trim trees, locates. I would personally like to have a little bit more detail on that. I think we need specific locations and how much was done, what streets, what underground lines they were looking at. Just it wrote out like this, does it really give us a detail on what, where, and when?
Well, and I can tell you that we do not have any specific guidelines on our reports, which is probably something that needs to be developed.
I don't want to butt in on your conversation, but she has got a point. I mean, they could write down trim trees all day long, but on what street? At least put the street that they did it on.
So that way the citizens can kind of see where things are being done.
Okay,
It's more noticeable and,
okay, name of streets, what were the other specifics that you asked for?
like, just any of the work orders. I think they do need to be specified just a little bit better. Like, right here, for instance, streetlights. What streetlights? What street? There might be
So
15 streetlights
But the
out.
name of the streets would be sufficient? I mean,
More of a specific location, yes.
Okay,
Because if there's a work order for 15 lights, and they ain't specified which one's done, and somebody ain't there, and somebody has to go back, which one do they start at? Well, that's a waste of time, to have to go all the way back and see which ones they done, which ones they done, it would just be specified. If they can write this, they can write a little bit more specific, I feel.
you know, or maybe, I was trying to think about how the work orders are completed, what documentation that they have.
Well,
I'm just gonna put on here, more documentation.
I would really say, this is just right here, this is just handwritten.
Okay, so that was on the electric department. Are there any more specifics in here that any of you have questions on?
Well, we'd have to go on to streets too then.
Yes, the streets had some, the streets had addresses or specific locations.
Yeah, they had 3rd Street, 5th Street.
Yeah, can I continue on with that one too while we're at it? Okay, why, okay. I feel like this, it's just like they specified Patch Roads, East 3rd Street, East 5th Street, Park Street, yada, yada, yada. I just think it needs to be more specified. And why are they jumping from street to street? Let's start on one street, work our way down, get that street completed, mark it off the list, start another street. Just jumping around like this, and all the streets are bad. I'm not saying there's some worse than the others, I'm sure there is. But why just jump around? Let's start on one street, work our way down, get it done, but mark it off the list. And there's no reason why every day these streets ain't being worked on. That's just my opinion. The ditches need cleaned before the flood season. If we clean them out before the flood season, there's no sense in our town getting flooded like it did. Because to me, when they're not doing, when they're not specifying the sections and everything, I kind of feel like it's a little misleading. Because if it's 4th Street, okay, so you go to 4th Street, a fourth of it's done, but to them, reading this, it's like the whole street was done. I think things need to be specified just a little bit better.
It's the completion of the street, and I would agree on that.
Okay. And do you want to address the issue about the ditches?
So are you referring to whenever Oak Street and everything flooded downtown?
Well, not especially that one, but like, okay, when you know that around March, April, we have our, what I call monsoon season around. Okay, if the ditches aren't being cleaned out by at least February, there's the leaves from the fall, the trash, and then sometimes we do have a light flood or a major flood during the winter months. So if they're not being cleaned out at the first of the year and maybe at the end of the year, you know, don't everybody burn their leaves at the end of the year? Let's clean out the ditches at the end of the year. Come springtime, let's clean them out again, and that might help prevent a lot of the flooding that's going on, I feel. But you can clean your culvert out each spring, each fall. Why not our culverts get cleaned out? Why not our drainages get cleaned out? Because in the winter time, it's kind of slow in certain departments. So why can't certain departments that's not busy at the moment go to another department and help out? Clean the ditches out, clean the culverts out, get these drainages cleaned out. Because this last time, it was pretty bad. And a lot of it could have been prevented, I believe.
They're on Jackson, the
Yeah.
culvert
Yeah.
clogged
And
up.
we do need to ask the residents too, because there's a lot of people that clean the leaves out of their yard and put them in the ditches.
Exactly.
And we need help
Well,
from the
that
residents.
one there on Jackson is really a bad one because, you know,
And
it's
there's a
away
lot
from
of
James
water.
Street. And I felt so sorry for that lady because it backed up and then it backed up toward her garage. And then she was out there for the last 2 days cleaning that culvert out herself.
It's unfortunate that the waterway, you know, it comes from the north and it comes through town.
Right.
There are so many homes in the waterway.
But I
I
do
have
feel
to
it,
agree with, Ms. McAdams that,
We do need more ditch cleaning.
and I do feel it's the city's responsibility to see that that is done, to prevent other people's property from being damaged.
Okay, is there anything else on these reports that you have questions about?
Yeah, I got one more. And Gail, okay, on this page here, the Mountain View Police Department, the nuisance letters,
Oh, yes.
I got a couple of questions and stuff, but I want Gail to specify too, because,
I had a couple of complaints on that one, and two different ones mainly. One was they had received a nuisance letter, they paid a ticket, sold the property, received another nuisance letter, and still had to pay that fine. And then another one was they received a nuisance letter, and then their property isn't specifically torn down or anything like that. They just had a vehicle sitting there in a shop that they had to tear down within 7 days. So I was just curious on how the timeline works on that.
Stetson, do you want to come up and address these issues? Do you know if the people that called you had contacted the police department at all?
I don't know for sure, they did not say.
Because if someone comes into City Hall,
They just said they had 7 days to clean it up.
Right.
And if you're working, how are you supposed to clean it
well,
up?
and that's what we encourage anyone that does get one of these letters to contact the police department. Stetson and Kylie McGee will work with them. There's
Well,
just,
and I understand what Gail's saying too, because you can't do one person that way and not do the other. It kind of needs to be across the board.
Yes.
So the reason that the 7 days is that's how the ordinance is written.
Is 7 days.
Is 7
They
days.
have
That's,
7 days
that,
to clean
I,
it up.
and the nuisance letter is sent out with the entire ordinance written into the letter. And when I send out a letter, I specifically highlight the portions of the nuisance that they're in violation of. And on the letter, I put to contact myself, or if it's Officer McGee, she'll put down to contact herself on the letter.
So is there any way we can extend the ordinance on days that they have to clean it up?
Yeah, you guys
can write in
can,
whatever, I mean.
you guys can change the
ask
ordinance
them.
to whatever you want the ordinance to be.
Okay.
You can give them, I mean, you can do away with the nuisance ordinances entirely if you want to, that's totally up to you
Well,
guys.
couldn't we have it in that ordinance, after 7 days, you can ask for an extension, up to 2 extensions or something?
Well,
If a family.
and I think if if someone contacts the police department within that 7 days, then what's your next
I
step?
very rarely, unless there's just no progress made on the property at all or no contact, I rarely show up on day 8 and be like, here's your ticket. Like, if they make any kind of progress or show any kind of willingness to get something done, if that starts to slack off, I might show back up and be like, hey, we need to make some progress. But, I mean, a lot of the properties are derelict for a reason. People don't have a ton of money. They probably don't need to be paying fines to the city if they can, if we can help them, but.
I'll also say that once the police department, they don't write very many nuisance tickets, they don't like writing them, I don't like prosecuting them, they're not, they always feel a bit unnecessary for things like tall grass. But if it gets to the point that the police department finally issues them a citation for it, I also make it very widely known that if they will just cut the grass before their court date and come tell me that they, I specifically meet with people, they can call the police department and tell them, the police department will do a drive-by. If it's compliant at that point, then I dismiss their ticket. We just want them to clean it. So if they can't do it by the time Stetson is finally like, okay, I have to give you a ticket, it's been too long, they still have generally at least another month before that ticket is going to go to court, in which they can clean it up. And it doesn't even have to be perfect by the time it's supposed to go to court. Once again, if they are making any progress, we are very willing to work with them on that. You just have to be willing to show that you are going to do something.
Anything else on these? Thank you, Steph. Anything else on these reports? Okay. The next items are the financial reports. You've been given the first quarter revenue and expense, the claims report.
This is the first quarter budget, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the budget report, the first, it's a revenue and expense for the first 3 months.
We discussed that 77,242 on the block grants. No, it's not, it's MoDOT entitlement.
Entitlement funds.
What was the answer on that?
That's for the Ganesh design of the airport pavement project.
If I didn't know.
So we already had to pay for that.
No, that was MoDOT money that came in, and yes, then we show proof of payment to them. It is from the entitlement.
And would that be part of our percentage that goes towards that grant? Can we have-
These are not matching funds, this is all 100% grant for the airport pavement rehabilitation.
Anytime it's a MoDOT, you will find it, that's usually with the airport and they.
Yeah, it's MoDOT
Just to
and
keep it up.
AA entitlement funds.
Well, what is the surplus property on the airport?
So you're talking about revenue?
Yes,
Page 3.
on the revenue. It's for 3,800, it's on page 3, surplus property.
I wonder if that
We
would-
didn't sell anything from the airport.
Well, then it's got the $3,800 dollars for the year to end balance, and then it's got the difference of $3,800 in the hole minus.
Well, that's the difference because it wasn't put anything in the budget
Right.
for that. So that's when we'll have to look at it, to see what it was.
Well, that's why I was wondering if it hadn't been put on the wrong, coded wrong.
Kind of what it looks like to me. We didn't
Yeah.
sell anything airport related.
But what was sold for, so we'd have gone through the short code through the receipt management for what was from the online auction.
Yeah.
That may have been what it is, but we will find out for sure.
Probably should go back in.
That's the only surplus property that I can think of.
Yeah, page 4, on the other miscellaneous revenue.
Mhm.
There's a difference of $8.55.
No, it's
That's the
used up
percentage.
percentage.
Of the
They still
5,000.
got 5,000.
It's been budgeted, we received in this, because the columns is the total budget, and then the PTD is the period to date and then year to date. So on that line, that shows that it was the parks revenue, $370.05 was in March. And year to date, January, February, March, total is $427.66.
It's on the back page. Well, next to the back page. Or the three back. Three back, my bad. Okay, I'm new to this, so is this stuff back here supposed to be like a restricted fund?
What? Oh, that's the accumulated report for the sales tax. It shows the 5 different sales tax that we get. That's just to show the accumulation.
But the transportation, she's saying that was a restricted fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is to be,
And it not being a general fund, just in a restricted fund?
well,
Or the streets
it's
and
all,
airport?
it's deposited into the general fund. It's tracked by this. We have several funds in that general, or several departments in that general fund.
But all
Streets is
the-
part of the general fund.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Now, all the things for streets or airport, their salaries and everything should come out of that line item, out of that transportation tax. Because that can only be used for streets and airport and city buses and city taxis, but we don't have those.
And the very last page is the cumulative for the motor vehicle tax. Which if you go back to the revenue on page three, taxes type.
What page are you on, Shirley?
On 3. Because this report is revenue by type. So that's the taxes,
Okay, this section 3 here.
yes. And the last 3 pages are just the accumulative, so. Just to back that up.
There's another, page 5, surplus, sale of surplus property,
Which one is that, Deb?
page 5.
Which one?
And the 7/12/50, again, that's part of parks.
And you can see their park and recreation tax, what we make on that, or what we've estimated.
Okay. We have. Okay, on page 5, there's a question about that, or you're just saying that there is a sale?
There's another
Sale, so we need to, no, we'll have to look and see what the sale of surplus property is.
Can you see that? Oh,
Yeah, because
And
it says.
we did get a check in March from Sexton Auction, and I'm assuming that's what that is. But it wouldn't have been from the,
Is, on this golf course, it's the,
what page, are you still in revenues?
yes, yes.
Okay, what
on the
page?
Season passes,
On what page?
it's on 5. When did this fiscal,
This was in, just through March, so
so
April
the end
is.
of March, right?
Yes, so,
Okay, I was gonna say
April.
that's low right there. I don't know. Some
Well,
of these numbers is
season-
very hard to believe on what's coming out here in the spring, how busy it
but
is.
this was just through March, so I do know there's been substantial deposits in April.
Okay. That's all right.
Anything else on revenue? And the other part of the budget report are the expenses for the 3 months. Okay, this is expense type in the by fund.
Page 6. It would be dues and fees. Our budget we have is way lower than we've already spent.
Where you at?
These page
Oh,
6.
Page 6.
okay, dues and fees, that's on the library.
Yes, we had a bill that had not been given to us, that had to be paid for one of the services, online services that they have for the library. In this type of thing, we will need to make budget adjustments on some of these line items, which we will do at the end of 6 months. Because then we will have
Are we gonna have a special meeting on the budget and amend it on some of these?
There's several already that are like
yes, there are several of them. They'll just have to be that way.
the grants, MoDOT entitlement on page 8.
Yeah.
That one's a big one.
65,000 in the red.
And then also, we've got a library grant expense at 2,800.
Right, that's another thing that, well, and that could be that we had gotten the grant in previous, and it was not coded there correctly. But again, there are some of these things that we will have to make budget adjustments.
Okay, before we get off,
Did they answer about the grant?
No.
Up on top of 8, second line down.
Well, we put the 15,000 in there because that would be 10% of the yearly 150,000 that we've been getting. Now, we got money for this Benesh planning and design, so we had to pay that out. But that's one of those things that we get the money at the time that we pay it out. And right now, this pavement rehabilitation is all 100% grant money.
okay, while we're on the library, why are we paying for a box, a post office box? Can't they get their mail like everybody else through the city?
Well, we have asked that question.
$350 that
Right, yes.
we could save.
That is the question that we have pondered.
How would you do this post office when you deliver to them?
Do what down
Post office probably will not deliver to them because they don't have
Physical
a
address?
physical address, and be willing to bet. They're really,
But if they are getting books, they're not getting them in a box. There's no way you can have a post office box.
They probably wouldn't be shipped, I mean, by postal service. I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
That is something that we need to look at.
Yeah, but we questioned it for a long time now, we need to solve it. What department is this on? There's one on page 12, under the parks.
Supplies and material.
Yeah, for,
And R&M grounds.
repair and maintenance on the ground, then with 6,000 in the red on that.
Well, and again, we would have to go back and see what was coded.
Right.
And
That's what I'm wondering with some of these that's in like that, especially this time of year, if they haven't been coded wrong and took out the wrong.
Well, and that could have been something for, this is for the golf course.
Well, it says parks.
What you said, take that back, you're right, parks. Supplies and materials. Eddie, does anything come to mind? Okay.
And something could just be coded wrong, you just need to check it.
Right.
That would be the fence, wouldn't it?
I bet that's fence, yeah.
Oh, yes,
But I-
because, okay, I will address that.
Yeah, that
It is.
87, that was the fence.
That's the fence because it was coded for March payment, but it's,
I never paid.
it's an item, it's not been paid yet. It's item number 9, that's what that is.
Okay, on page 5, I'm a little curious about this, maybe y'all can correct me, I don't know, I'm new. Okay, on this streets thing, do we use half of the money on the, page 5, yes. Do we use like half of the money on the roads? Like if their salaries, okay, for instance, their salary's 6,300 and there's 20,000 left, where's the money? Where's the money going? What is it going to and what is it being used for?
Well, they got budgeted there for 120,000 on paving material.
Because that kind of just caught my eye a little bit.
Does none of that go to actual repaving of roads, is that just fixing roads?
Well, the transportation would be anything that has to do with the streets. That would include salaries, the coal mix,
The
the hot
paving,
mix.
well, the paving materials though, you have budgeted at $120,000, would that not go towards actually repaving roads?
Well, that's where the coal mix that they're using for the potholes would be, yes.
So
Maybe we need to look into putting more of that in repairing the streets and every year do one street and have it done.
figure out the,
Well,
what the
and
cost would be
we
to
are
fix
working
one.
on, because this is kind of, well, it's on the subject. We had the grant application in for the CDBG grant for the streets, the $500,000. But we lost the eligibility for the CDBG grant due to the low water income level. It's not as high as it used to be. So therefore, that is a no-go. Eddie is working with an asphalt company so that we can come up with a plan that we can start working on some of these improvements on our own with our transportation tax. And one thing that he has been talking to them about is, if you will, Eddie, just very briefly about the chip and seal that you were talking about.
I talked to a gentleman with an asphalt company. I was just trying to get an idea on some prices. What he had given me was for, say, if we had to wanted to do a 2-inch overlay, if it was like minimal milling required, you know, if it was something that our crew could do milling wise, they could do a 2-inch overlay for roughly $2 a square foot. So if we have like some dead end streets that don't see a lot of heavy traffic and could get by with a chip and seal or seal coat, the possibility would be to basically grind those down, because, I mean, let's face it, we got some dead end streets that are basically gravel with occasional asphalt spots. Those, in my opinion, could be ground down, you know, pulverized, rolled out, and then chip sealed. So we could do that for about 60% of what it would cost to hot mix them. So roughly $1.25 a square foot. So, you know, I figured it up. So on a 2-inch overlay, we could do 1 mile, if I figured that right, 5,280 times 18. That's going to give you your square footage, approximate streets, 18 feet wide, 18 to 20. So at that price, about $190,000 to do 1 mile with a 2-inch overlay. That's considering it doesn't need extensive milling. Most of our streets need a lot of milling. The milling, and when I say milling, I'm talking, you know, it's attachment, just grinds it up. I'm trying to remember the price I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I think the milling was $1.50 a square foot. So, I mean, just
Okay, I got
kind
a
of
question.
some numbers.
I got a question. What equipment do we have for our streets? Do we have the proper equipment to use for our streets? Why don't we have? Is there not grants or anything, or, because I do know that other towns has got plenty of grants for new roads and stuff, and somehow we didn't get one.
Exactly.
But
Which
why
that's just what
doesn't
you
our
thought.
street department have the proper equipment, or if we do, why isn't it being used? Is it something wrong with it, or we just don't have it? And
Yeah.
if there's a means of getting it, why can't we?
Well,
So-
we used to have a paver, but I know it was sold sometime back.
Well, we
Why
still
was it
have
sold?
we still have the paver, but it does not function.
Why?
Last time they tried to use it was several years ago, and it caught on fire.
Okay, well, several years ago, why didn't they have it checked, maybe fixed, maybe replaced? Because
That
we
was-
got to have something for these streets anyways.
Yeah, that was way before, you know, we're talking 10, 12 years ago.
Last time they attempted to use it, they couldn't get it to work. We can't even get it to move now.
So 10 years has passed and we have not even thought about replacing it?
I've looked into to replacing one, but we're talking for a well-used one, they start around 75,000 is what I found for a paper.
Okay, and,
So,
okay, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have this transportation tax that is supposed to help with the roads, correct?
That is correct, but in the past years, it's not been tracked, it's not been allocated, and that's, we're working on the projects. And I don't want to take away from what we've got here, but we're working, trying to come up with some kind of solution.
Go ahead, Gavin.
No.
No?
On the grant thing, have you gotten all the surveys back in yet?
No.
Is there any way we can send surveys out to everybody so we get the right percentage or nothing?
CDBG chose, we sent them the list of our utility billings, and they chose the addresses. We will just have to start all over if we don't get another, we need 12 more. Because they requested 66, we sent out 200. We had several returned because the mailing address is not the property address. So
Can we work on getting them 12?
we're working, we finally got the mailing addresses for those 12, because this was all done as an anonymous survey,
Right.
so
Right.
it wasn't trackable. So we may have to just start all over again. Okay, let's move on to the claims report. Is what was paid out through the end of March, and then the claims that we have for the first run in April. On the March claims, looking at anything over 5,000, the Venetia counting, that is through that MoDOT FAA grant, so anything that's paid out, we have received the money, 2 of the March.
Okay.
The Scobie Power Line Construction on page 7, the 188,988.50. It was, the check was cut, it has not been mailed yet, but it was approved already. It will be going out in the mail.
Okay, this, joint municipal electric purchase power for 19,000,
That's,
is that payments that are being made off of a loan?
no, that is what we pay for the power. That's what we call a MUPA invoice, and it, the March one was attached to last meeting, the April one is included in this packet. That's what we paid out on March 21st. It's an ACH that's taken out.
And the one underneath is the lease payment, that's the payments we make on it? From UMB Bank?
That's the loan on the alley.
Yeah, that's the alley.
The alley loan?
Did we ever look to get cheaper interest on that?
I have met with a gentleman that's a municipal specialist with Harvest Bank that is working up some proposals for us.
Okay.
So we're working on it.
You said this 188,988.50?
Yeah, that's the Scobie. And was that all labor?
yes.
Okay.
You said the check hasn't been sent out, but on here it says the check was wrote down on 3/24/25.
Yes. Because we needed to make sure that the money was in there. So that's and the Williams fence invoice was also coded in March. That's the 87 that you saw in the other report, which is item number 9 down here, and I'll explain then why it wasn't sent out. Okay. on the claims report from March. I think there's, oh, yes. On page 4, Greensboro, the 7709.85. Okay, the total quote was approved at 59,864.75 back in October, I believe. This portion here, the 7709.85, is what was due in April. It was a total of the 7709.85. And then there will be a payment due June the 9th for 1716. Another one for 950. And another one for 6444.80. That's all due in June. And June 20th will be 15,729.50.
15,000 what?
729.50. So by the end of June, we will have paid, if we get it all, 59,864.75. There were supposed to be some rebates of a 5 to 8% on this, but all they sent us was the websites that we can go on and try to get something back from the manufacturer. And the only thing that I could find that we had received in the past 3 years was like $360 from Sygenta. We've gotten one rebate check.
Have you asked the supervisor about that, to see if there's any channels that he can go to?
I'm hoping that we can send this to him and he can tell me, because he did confirm what we received. And then we'll have to see after we receive that if any of those fit on those rebates.
Because I know,
And some of them are not rebates, some of them are credits to be used in the future.
yes, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, so. The Waste Zero is another one that was approved to $9,999. That's on page 8. And the tipping fees, but we automatically pay those when we get the bill in.
Is that amount on the wastewater, or waste zero, is that amount for the year?
No, because a year supply is over $18,000, we split that up. So that's more than half a year.
Is that the same with the tipping?
The tipping
That's
fees,
zero.
no, that's a month. That's just the month. It ranges from 8,000 to 14,000.
It's by the weight of how much
It's
trash
per
waste.
ton, yes.
So don't put no rocks in your.
The next thing in your packet is that Missouri Public Utility Alliance bill. And this will come out on 4/18. And this month is $206,372.13. There is a worksheet for the accumulation through the 4 months. So there's the total bill, and then $10,608.63 per month is for that relief. That was February of 21. So we paid $10,608.63 each month. This month is 46th payment of 60. And then their reserve funding, this alliance charged $87.42 for 24 months. And this is the 21st payment of that, so we have 3 more after that.
So we'll be done with that in July, I believe the last page.
May, June, and July, yeah. So August, then, that should not be on there anymore. And as far as I know, they're not going to extend that reserve funding. I haven't received anything about it anyway. I don't think Eddie has.
That county stays in a savings account, don't it?
Yeah, I think it's to kind of counter another one of these relief deals.
Right.
So,
Okay, any questions, further questions on that? Okay, the next ones are 2 certificates of deposit renewals with Simmons Bank. Nope, sorry, back up. You have a comp time available report. And this is something that the employees, some of them have not been able to use comp time. Our employee manual states that you can only have 80 hours of comp time. And this is something that we need to do something about. That second page shows, as of the 4/2 payroll, what the payout would be for anybody that's over 80 hours. And this is something that will need to be taken up in a personnel
The
session.
fifth one down, from the top on that,
Yes,
isn't that parks?
no, that was the police department. You're talking about the 12 hours, 12.75 hours?
No, I'm talking about the one,
Are you looking on the first page or the?
the first page, first page.
Yes,
Isn't that parks?
yes.
And why?
Okay, so if you look at the second page, you can see a Y.
No, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong number here.
This all really needs to be enclosed. This needs to be enclosed.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, you've got the report then, and as I was starting to say, that needs to be in the personnel section.
Okay, can we do that in the session afterwards?
Okay. Okay, now we're to the certificates of deposit. Because these were at like 0.2%, and last year we got them at 5%. The 9-month rate for both of them was better than the 12-month rate. One of them is at annual percentage of 4.08, the other one is a percentage of 4.0.
This is the new certificate here?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is the Simmons Bank account for the court, the municipal court. The authorized signers, the Jennifer Jennings being the city treasurer, would not be the court clerk as it has been for several years. So Tiffany Young is the court clerk now, and her name needs to be added to those 3 funds. And the bank requires the minutes for the council to approve.
Yeah, it's just her job position. I mean,
We had-
that's her official title.
Yeah, we need approval of the authorized, to switch the authorized signer to Tiffany Young in the court clerk. As court clerk.
You mean just court clerk?
Yes, as court clerk, her name needs to be put on this account.
Just the signers on the checks.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now we're to the 8758. Yes, as an authorized signer, yes. Yes. For this, yes.
As long as you're not talking about someone's performance or like how they're doing in their job, if it's just their title, then it's fine.
I just wanted to make sure we weren't
Yeah.
supposed to
So
speak
this
names.
is the title.
Yeah.
Okay, at 875758. is from the flood damage at the football field, which has been repaired. The insurance claim went through Myrma, and we were told at that time that there would be $1,000 deductible. So we expected the insurance to pay $62.8744. However, as the claim was processed, we were told that due to that being a flood in a floodplain area, that there would be a $50,000 deductible, so they weren't gonna pay us anything. Well, Eddie contacted Myrma, and that is the second page of what's in your packet, that although Myrma does not have a legal obligation, they are willing to pay for 50% of its costs, up to 50% of the $72.8744, which would have been after the $1,000 was taken off. So they are willing to pay $36.4372, which will leave the city part $51.4386, but we have to pay the $87.8758.
Is the 36 like a fee or something, or?
No, that's what they're going to pay instead of nothing. They're gonna pay 50%. Yes, they will reimburse.
You know, before we jump into this kind of stuff before, because I know the council was told, and
We
I
were
thought
told
that,
what Myrna told us.
oh, I realized that, but we was told, when we voted on it, that they was gonna pay the $72.8744 less the $1,000. And then we come back and the fence gets fixed. And before we do this kind of stuff anymore, we need to make sure that's what Myrna's gonna pay and send them all the information or something, because now we're coming back and we're,
You know, we have really,
There's a lot of
gone
things.
is what Myrna is telling us. We need to request things in writing from Myrna, which they're not real willing to give us at various times, but.
well, that's true. Everything should be in writing when it comes to them, but my point is, the council voted on it because we was gonna have to come up with the $2,500 for the upgrade and the $1,000. And now we're having to come up with $5,143, so we need to get our ducks in a row before we jump in the pond. Because this is not fair for the council to be told one thing and then have to turn around and pay a different price on a bill.
And that's very true. But again, we are at the mercy of Myrna in many things.
Well, then before we do anything, repairing anything, we need it in writing from Myrna what they're gonna pay.
With that said, I need to ask your approval to pay this invoice of $87.58 with, we do have it in writing. The reimbursement from the insurance company will be $36.4372.
Is that the
No.
only bid you got on the fence?
I'd have to go back and look. I don't know.
I think there was 3 bids, wasn't it?
I'm sure there was.
No, there was. There was 3 bids. I can't remember who turned them in.
Is there a motion to approve this invoice?
I agree with Judy, but even the work, the work has been done, so we're just gonna,
And I know we got our
I mean, they
fence
can't
out,
come take it
but
back
this is
out.
not what the council was told, and
Right.
you know it. And so, before we, this is frustrating when the council sits here in good faith and says, okay, So we need to get our ducks in a row, and when we get something that we're gonna have to go in through an insurance company, then we need it in writing before we bring it to the council, because I just feel like the council got stabbed in the back on this one. And I don't know if I wanna approve it or not. To be honest with you, it's aggravating because somebody didn't do the complete job on it.
And then I ask for a motion to approve this for payment.
Well, I'll make that motion to pay it.
Is there a second?
I'm gonna second
Motion been, excuse me, made and seconded for payment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's take a roll call vote, please.
Do we have any discussion first?
Yes, please.
Okay, when I say that I agree with Judy, I agree with Judy, but I also look at it this way. We just got done making an agreement with the youth center down there. Now, are we gonna just leave this bill hanging? I mean, I realize there's a difference here of $2,643. But also at the same time, we heard that it was for the children and that's what it's for. So I don't mind to spend that money. I'm not real happy about the $2,600 difference. But if they've done the work in good faith, we need to pay them in good faith, or nobody else is gonna wanna do work for Mountain View.
I agree.
Yeah, so we can be upset all we want, but the bottom line is we still have to pay them.
But don't you expect the next time when we're dealing
Well,
with something
yeah, I
like
sure
this,
do.
I want to.
And that was probably our fault from the council for not making sure that it was in writing. So we can absorb some of the blame for our own selves of not asking that question. We'll know better next time.
Right, well, you're right, and usually you do ask, hey, have we got it in writing, you know, just like you asked for the inspection. I'll say yes, I'm paying it under protest, but we'll have to pay it.
Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Perry.
Yes.
Alderwoman Coulter.
Yes, a bad yes.
Alderwoman Waller.
Yes.
Alderwoman McAdams.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now, for the next murmur, this goes with the next invoice, the Nathan Smith. Now, this invoice that we have for the $20,365.92 is for the tornado damage back in May of 2024. Okay, it is a total of $20,365.92, which we do have from Irma in writing that they will pay the $11,895.16. Now, again, the late notice deductible was the timing issue because how long it took to get the quotes, because this all had to be submitted through to SEMA. There's 4 different items on that for labor and material. But the total is $20,365.92. Marma will pay $11,895.16, which leaves $8470.76. FEMA traditionally, and that we have documentation, pays 75% of what's left over after the insurance, which would be $63.5307. So although we need to pay the $20,365.92, in the end, it will cost the city $2,117.69.
How much?
$2,117.69.
so this is a penalty?
There's a late notice deductible.
Whose job was it to get this turned in time? So we wouldn't get this penalty.
There wasn't any way to get it within the 30 days because of all of the damage.
We couldn't go around in 30 days and see what was damaged?
We had to get the quotes.
And I was also told in that time period that Murma was gonna waive any kind of late fee because of the circumstance with it being a tornado and all that. And then I went back to try and get that in writing, and of course they reneged on it. And that's whenever they come up with that 25% penalty.
Okay, so 25% of the, it's gotta be 25% of the 20,000, we make it that, right?
Yeah, and I'll.
Well, and they,
Minus the
okay.
$1,000 deductible, I'm sure.
and again, they asked, okay, they valued the total damage at 16,000.
So how are you,
Not the
how are you coming up with the 2,000 that we would have to pay if Murma's only considering it 16,000, but the bill is 20,000?
Okay, Marma pays 11,895, which comes to 84,7076. Then FEMA will be reimbursing us 75% of that.
Have you got
That's
that
what we're
right?
told. No, we don't have
We haven't
anything.
got that right.
And there's some things you just can't, because this all has to be submitted to them first.
How many people do they have? I'm kinda like, Alderman Coder. It took that long, and we're just now, this was last year, and we're just now paying on it?
These claims have not been, the SEMA and FEMA haven't got all of their money yet from the federal government. And there's been 3 more disaster declarations since this one.
Well, I know 2 people's got their houses built and done and living in them, and FEMA's paid them all their money.
We've submitted everything that they requested.
I mean, this goes back to the fencing. So if we agree to pay this and then they don't end up reimbursing the 75%, we're gonna end up owing
We're gonna end up paying more.
almost
Right.
$9,000,
Yes,
which needs to be paid anyway because they've done the work, but that's what we
Right,
need to
but-
find out for sure.
but with SEMA and FEMA, again, you can only get out of them what they'll let you have, or what they request you have to submit.
Did we have bids on that as well? Multiple bids?
Yeah, did we get bids on all this repair?
Yeah, I was able to acquire 2 bids on it, is what I've
Was
got.
they brought before the council? I never seen them.
I don't know that they were.
Or wouldn't that be something that needs to be brought before us?
But SEMA and FEMA request the quotes, correct? And then,
Yeah, and in Murma, they got the quotes, they were good with the one that we chose. They give us the green light to go ahead and get the repairs underway.
But when we got bids, don't, that's supposed to come before the council regardless if it's just 1 or 2 bids? I mean, I don't care, really, I don't care if Murma approved them or not, because evidently Murma don't wanna pay too much of the bills anymore.
Yeah.
So is there not any way you can go to FEMA and say that this is how much is left owed and see if they will go ahead and reimburse us?
I can, yeah, I
I
can.
know he's been working directly with a FEMA rep.
Yeah, because I met with him, it was last week, I met with him and I ran this by him to make sure that they were going to assist us with their 75%. They do 75 federal and then 25% local. And he confirmed that they would. So I've got to get him a copy of that Murma documentation so that he can give me something in writing saying that they will for sure cover what he told me they would.
So I was thinking do it until we get that information
it's been since May of 24, and this is April of 25, so what's another 30 days?
Okay, please make a motion.
Make a motion to table it until we see proof back from FEMA, what they're gonna pay.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Coulter,
Aye.
Alderman Hollander, Alderwoman McAdams,
Aye.
Alderman Perry.
We didn't have any discussion there. My question would be, so we're gonna tell Nathan Smith we're not paying him?
No, we're just seeing if FEMA's gonna reimburse first, because we'll have to pay it no matter.
So we have nowhere in there that says Nathan's gonna get paid.
Okay, this is the way I look at it, Calvin. Yeah, we're gonna pay this guy because he did work, okay?
Right.
But we're okay in this 20,000. If FEMA don't pay, okay, we vote 20,000, so what did we really okay for the city to pay? You know, because we don't know how much we're getting back, what's coming out. And on top of that, I don't like the idea that the bids wasn't brought before the council like it should have been. So,
I don't know. Nathan's the guy that needs to be paid. That's all I was thinking. And I agree. I didn't say I disagreed.
I
I
know.
just said that we're
And
not
I
gonna
feel
pay
bad
Nathan.
because he did the work and he should be paid, you know? But
But if we're gonna wait for the federal government, we might be waiting another 6 months.
If you're talking to him directly, you think you could get an answer by next meeting?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have it.
But we can call a special meeting, you know. Don't take that long to okay a bill.
Yeah, if you can get an answer, we'll do a special meeting. So that way this man can be paid.
Okay, any further discussion? We have.
So Alderman Perry,
I'll abstain.
Okay. To the next one. This is KPM. We had no credentials to e-file the W-2s at the end of January. And e-filing is required if you have over 10 W-2s. We had 128, even though we have an average of 50 employees. Our G-Works W-2 file submitted was rejected by the IRS 2 times. So KPM brought in extra people the night of the 31st to hand key the information on our W-2s. And this avoided a penalty of $100 per W-2, which would have been approximately over $13,000. This is another reason for us to get away from G-Works.
Is there a reason why there wasn't enough forms ordered?
It wasn't the number of forms.
You didn't have like the USD or US government like ID? to
Right.
get
We
into.
we could not find those credentials anywhere.
You have to do it yourself when you go to do W-2s.
Right. Which we tried, but we never could get into it. And this is almost a blessing, because if we had submitted that W-2 file and it had been rejected twice to us, we wouldn't have been able to have hand keyed them in. I mean, KPM really stepped in and saved us on this.
Was they done e-file last year?
KPM did them last
the year before? Was they done E5?
I don't know.
Because I noticed there was a thing come out to businesses that if you have over so many employees that you have to e-file it, so.
If you have over 10 W-2s.
Right. So we couldn't have looked into this the beginning of January to see if we could have got that.
Again, if we hadn't been able to, and it had been rejected like it was, we wouldn't have been able to have saved ourselves.
Have you started looking into it for this year, so we don't have to pay these fees again?
Oh, we will definitely, but it will depend on, we won't be able to use the G-Works pilot we have, so there's a lot to be looked into, but yes. So I ask your approval to pay this invoice, $57.15 to KPM. Are there any further questions?
Do you know how much the invoice was for last year?
No, I didn't.
I think it was done through the office. January 23rd. They didn't have to go through the KPM.
That's something I want to ask. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. Okay, why are we going through a CPA? Whose duty is that to do this anyways?
Well, that's one of our big problems. There's not a city administrator. We don't have a financial accountant. Fallen on the clerk's office, I assume, although we could not find any records from last year. I don't know if you have since this has happened, but there's a lot of things that have not been consistent the last several years.
This is hard to do, Gail. You do it all the time. I don't think it's that hard to learn it real quick. I've done it for years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. I think getting the whole, government thing is a little bit of an issue, but it shouldn't take a year. I mean, it took me, I think, 2 weeks to get it all figured out. Cause I do a 1099 on an employee, and then I also, which I don't do the stuff for CrossStep, but I do payroll at CrossStep too. It shouldn't be that difficult, but is this, what is this down here?
Do what?
The 7715, because they had done a NORMA audit for us, payroll audit that had to be,
So we know.
but that was, no, that was already paid.
As of end of February.
Yes, I'd have to look up the date when that was paid, but it was already paid.
So we paid them $7,700 in February. and
No, we paid the difference between the 5715 and the 7715. Because Murma requires a payroll audit every year,
So exactly what do we owe them then?
5715 for the W-2 E5. W-2s and 1099.
And then we pay them to do the audit, is what this
The
is.
Murma audit, yes, that's the Murma payroll audit. So it was $2,000 for the Murma audit.
I think it's
We
kind
need
of
some
sad
action.
that we don't have somebody capable of doing this and saving the city $5,700. This is just kind of off the edge here.
We need action on this bill, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it. It's not been paid.
Motion and second to pay the 5715. Roll call vote, please.
Alderwoman Wallander? Alderwoman McAdams?
Aye.
Alderman Perry?
Aye.
Alderwoman Coulter?
Aye.
My thought on this is we, like Judy said, we need to look into seeing why and resolving that we don't have to pay things like that.
Okay, well, now for the next big thing. There hasn't been an audit done since June of '22. We have to have an audit for 7/1/22 through 6/30/23, and another one from 7/1/23 through December of '23, plus our 2024 audit. Again, I have talked to KPM because they were the ones that did the audit in '22. They are the ones that had sent us some information so that we can even start to gather all of the reports that they would need for this audit. And I did schedule them. We have not signed anything to commit them because I'm asking for your approval to schedule these audits. And the cost, the base cost, is going to be $23,000 for the first one and $13,000 for the second one.
So $36,000, right?
Yes,
And then what about the 24?
the 24 we haven't even asked for yet until we get these two done. We have been searching diligently for documentation. Some of it does have to be provided to them by May the 5th to keep this schedule, tentative schedule, for the week of the 19th when they would come in.
When did they switch the computer systems from January to December? What
That
year
was in
that?
'23.
And that was in the middle of the year, correct?
No, it wasn't implemented until January of '24.
January 24.
Yeah. And you can't do an 18-month audit.
Mm-mm.
It has to be 12 and then 6.
And it could be more than that, right?
Yes, it
Because
does,
it
that's
could
the
be,
base.
right here, let's get
Because-
down in the dirt here. Additional fees may be required if we run into issues that require more time than usual or are not outside of the scope of the engagement. Additional fees will be discussed with you prior to us performing the work. And that's one of those things that if they require it, you're gonna have to do it because you've got to have the audit. So this $36,000 bill is another one of these bills that might show up a lot more.
Good.
So would it be adding all this other on there as the additional fees?
That's what, yeah, that's what
Well,
I
there
read
could
on
be
the first
others,
part.
yes.
Because if you total that all together, and I might not be right on math, but it looks pretty close to me, it's $80,000.
Well, there should
Wow.
not be the additional 10 for the accrual basis,
So this
but we
was-
don't know that yet.
This was before your time, so is this information easy to access?
No.
So then we're gonna get charged now.
Well, no, we're gonna have to find it to provide it to them.
The one that wasn't done from April 1st of 23 to December 31st of 23. All that paperwork, wasn't it just stacked in the office that had never even been, the books hadn't been reconciled?
Right, we have, for the 23, we finally got all of the months separated.
Has
We have,
any of that been run through and bank recs reconciled, and have we even got that 6 months period balanced yet?
yes, well, that was what was published in the newspaper, the 6 months at the end of 12/31.
So that's all in G-Works and been balanced and right?
Not in G-Works, no, because we would have had to have gone back and started over at 7/1 of 23. 7/1 of 23.
So these aren't being entered into the system? Are they being done on paper, or are they being,
Right, the bank statements are being
wouldn't they need to be done?
reconciled.
Wouldn't they need
Yes.
to be done in the system though?
They don't have to be,
But it would be recommended that they be in the system instead of on
right,
paper.
but we can't put them in the system as the system is now.
Okay, so you can't put them in the system like the system is now, but they've been doing it prior for years?
Yes, but it was stopped back in 22. I believe, I would have to go back and look, but yes.
If you would've just picked up the papers from April of 23 and the city clerk should have done it when she started the job, because in my books, it's her job to balance the books. So if she would just have picked up those and started them in August 23, like that was the first day, and started entering them into the books and balancing them, in probably 8 weeks, we should have had these all reconciled and the books balanced.
It didn't work quite like that.
Have you checked any other companies?
Not yet, no.
I make a motion to check into other companies
Okay.
before we start.
Is there a second?
Any other companies before this? I mean,
Well, just to find out other pricing, because if we're gonna be paying this plus this and plus that, it's
well, you can just simply look here that this is, like I said, it's gonna be another one of them bills that's gonna start out at 36 and end up, good Lord only knows
Okay.
where.
Do we have a second to check into other audits before we schedule anything?
I'll make that second,
For
I'll second it.
Roll call vote. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Alderwoman Coulter?
Aye.
Alderwoman Wonder? Alderwoman McAdams?
Aye.
Alderman Perry?
Aye.
Okay, next item is the lead service line inventory, which has been completed and submitted. It was for a total of $200,000. The last bill was received for the $100,000, and the deposit has been made into our checking account for the $99,000. So we will be cutting a check for $100,000 to Adam Patel, and that completes this inventory. Because we had to pay 10%, and we've already paid 1,000 out, so.
It's not a 1%.
1%, sorry.
I was gonna say 10%.
1%, sorry.
I was getting ready to just slide down out of this
Yeah,
chair.
so we've gotten the 98,000 in the
With that,
grant.
Pat, I make a motion,
Second that.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderwoman Wallander. Alderwoman McAdams.
Aye.
Alderman Perry.
Aye.
Alderwoman Coulter.
aye.
This next bill number 1430, resolution 250415 is for the hazard mitigation grant. And Jessica will read it in just a moment, but I want to have Eddie explain what this is.
Please.
It is a grant that come in, I believe it come in through SEMA, I don't have the literature in front of me, but, it is to, like, assist with, cities who are needing, generator power for, like, in this case would be our emergency operations headquarters, which is City Hall and the council chambers. And currently, this building is on a separate metered service from City Hall. So this grant would cover a new generator to replace the antique we've got out in the parking lot that never starts when we need it to start. So it would replace that and hire an electrician to come in and rewire these panels back here to tie the two buildings together. So in the event of emergency, like for instance, the tornado, City Hall is the hub, the emergency operations hub. Well, if that tornado had been a quarter mile further to the south, there's a good chance half the town or more would have been out of power. So this area more than likely would not have had power. So that's what it's for.
So it's guaranteed power backup?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, for like the city hall part of,
City
just
Hall.
that part of town, no, like the rest of the town, just.
It is, that's just for these two buildings.
Okay,
Is there a time limit on this grant?
And it's a FEMA hazard mitigation assistance is what it is.
I don't know all the specifics on it. I was Skokog was the one doing the legwork on it. I've met with them, I've met with Smith & Co. A couple of times. I'm not sure what the time limit is on it.
okay, and total project amounts 200,000?
I think that's what it was,
Yes.
yeah.
And our match would be 25% of 50,000.
For 50,000.
And also, just as
Okay, who's gonna write the grant for this? Do we have somebody to actually write the grant?
Skokog is the one writing the grant. They're the one doing the grant work.
Okay, so
With
we,
the SEMA application for Mountain View generator.
okay, so we don't actually have somebody that can write our own grants? We have to go through a company and pay them to write grants? Is that what I'm
But
understanding?
because the federal government and SEMA give the grant money to the Council of Governments, that's what STOCOG is. It's funneled through them.
We've used Skokog for years and years.
So it's gonna cost the city $50,000?
That's what it looks like our 25% would be.
That would be what, if the grant was approved for $200,000, yes. This is application, this is required to go with the application, this resolution and a designation of an authorized
When
representative.
will we know if it went through?
It's for the 26 funding, fiscal year funding.
Has anybody bothered to look into what it would cost to just, I mean, if we're gonna pay $50,000, and we get charged, they're gonna spend $200,000, what's that generator out there gonna cost?
I would have to do some digging.
And then what would, I mean,
Yeah,
If we're gonna spend 50,000 to get 200, that's not bad, but for the project we're talking about, so. What would the generator cost, and then what would it cost to hire an electrician? I mean, can we get by with 35,000?
I can do some digging for sure. I mean, that's what Smith and Co. come in to do, was, evaluate our needs for the buildings and the cost of it.
Right.
Which is where they come up with that 200,000.
Right.
But, I mean, I can do some call around, see if I can get some second opinions on it.
Yeah, I mean, a number of years I've been back here, I've seen that generator started 5 times.
Yeah, we usually start at least once a month.
I'm not gonna,
Granted, every time we go to start on it, we have to work on it, but the bad part is, for that one, you can't hardly find parts for those anymore. Military generators. Back in the day, they were great units. It's hard to find replacement parts for them.
I would just as soon table this.
Make a motion then.
I'll make a motion to table it,
I'll second it.
pending on looking up what it would cost.
Okay, we have a motion to table. Is there a second?
I second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor to table it, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Did you get 4 ayes? The next item is the airport pavement grant, the award of the bid. Ganesh is the engineer. And through MoDOT FAA guidelines, they do the bid opening here. Sorry about that. There were 2 bids. And this is their letter of recommendation for the award. For G Asphalt System, the total bid, $233,332.06. The only other bid that we received was from Highlight Airfield Services in Watertown, New York, for $513,476.33. The engineer's estimate is for $248,506.70, so the G Asphalt has come in lower than the engineer's estimate. This is part of the MoDOT FAA funds that we've been receiving. This is for rehabilitation of the airport, airport apron, and it's not the runway, it's the rest of the asphalt out there.
So how much is
And
it that we come up with?
this is all 100%. They're using the 2020,
Are we sure?
yes, we've got that, yes.
What portion of the airport are we going to have to take? I know that it was over
I
there.
can't hear you, Dale.
What portions are we going to have to take? 'Cause when you went over it, it was between 5 and 10%. So do we know what we're going to have to come up with?
All of this so far, and what they are requesting for the construction part even, is all 100%. Some of the funds have a 5% or 10% match, but nothing that they have requested so far. Because we're using up money that was granted to us in like 2018, 2019, that has to be used. And that's some of that 77,000 that we've already received. And they're requesting the 21 and 22 funds for the construction. But as of now, anything on this airport pavement is 100% funded by MoDOT FAA.
So are we supposed to make a motion on
We
this?
need to award the bid to G Asphalt System.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Alderwoman McAdams.
Yes.
Alderman Perry.
Yes.
Alderman Coulter.
Aye.
Alderman Wallander.
Next is the Howe County Emergency Operations Plan that evidently we've been working under for several years. It was dated September 22. We did receive this in late December, and our emergency management director asked this Mike Cold Iron from the Howe County Management Director. We have 2 city council member positions to be filled in the April 2025 election, and we wait until April to get all signatures, or is it critical we get you the signed page now? And he wrote back that, yes. Well, he sent me the email. Howe County EMD approved us waiting until April election to submit signatures. So that's what this is, to accept what's been in place since September of 2022.
On this here, I've had several people ask me, on this, when we've got safety shelters on private property, have anybody ever made a list of those safety shelters? So that if a bad storm comes through, we know where they're at, or, and some of them would probably say, hey, come sit in my
Safety
shelter.
shelters on private property.
Huh?
Safety shelters on private
Right.
property?
Christian Church on South 117.
But I have a tornado shelter in my backyard and nobody knows if a tree fell on it, I wouldn't be able to get out.
That's what I was talking about, the tornado shelters that people's got.
Oh,
Like
Yeah,
a
I-
registry.
Mine's in
I've
my
asked for
garage,
that for
so somebody
several
have to
years.
dig me out.
And then like with the torrential rain that we got, is there a backup besides the Christian church? Because with like with the, we get,
Let's ask our question.
What's that?
Can you come to the podium, please?
is there a backup for tornado shelter other than the Christian church? Like with the flooding that we had.
So last time I knew, there was a backup plan at the school. That's the last time I knew.
Elementary?
Yeah.
Are you talking about, Gail, like this side of town when we can't get to?
Well, like with the flooding that we
Yes.
had, and there was severe storms, if we had a tornado come through, then we couldn't get to the church.
Right.
Because of the road being
Mhm.
covered, so.
That's the only backup plan that I knew about. I don't think we've ever had to use it, but that's the last
The
time.
hospital has a
I don't know if that's in that should be in that plan. If it's not, they need to add it back in there.
Does the hospital still furnish their shelter?
They used to have it, but I don't think, last time I knew, they would not let people in. I don't know the politics behind that, but I just know that it was no longer available.
It used to be down at the old bowling alley too.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad, you
Mhm.
know.
Okay, so we need to find out a backup and the list of safety shelters on private property so that we can rescue.
Yes,
Right.
yes, that's
Or
what
at
I was
least
talking
Okay.
check to see if they're okay.
Okay, do you have any type of list?
No, that's supposed to be kept with the EMD,
Okay,
Who's that?
the emergency management director. That's,
So is that
Bill
somebody
Pierce.
we privately need to get a hold of, or is that something the city would also
no, I
have?
think
Yeah, it's
I
through the
will
office
get
of the
with
city.
Is
him and,
that Will?
yeah, Will Pierce, so we'll check into that.
And the Howe, and Mike Coldiron, he's the Howe County EMD over all agencies. He'd be, if not Will, then definitely him.
But I'll check with Will on that and see our steps there. Oh,
Well, you know, you see on TV, so these horrible tornadoes going through these towns. And if we knew the address of all the storm shelters, safety shelters, or whatever you wanna call them, that would be one place instead of looking through this house all tore up.
That's
You
kind of
know
what
that there
happened
was-
in Joplin. Like,
Right.
they didn't know storm shelters were
Right.
there until emergency management, then they got them out, 'cause they had to cut trees or houses off of the tornado shelters.
And that one was in really bad shape. It hasn't been there several days.
And at SCOCOG today, that's the Southern Ozarks Council of Government, they were talking about applications for safe houses are a priority. That is something that maybe the city and the school could work together on, because there would be space at the school, and then it could be used for more than one purpose, but that's something that we need to look into.
And we really need, like Dale said, we really need to split the town. Because like when we had all that rain, which you do a lot of times with the tornado.
Designated
And we
east and
couldn't,
west.
we couldn't have come to the school because it was.
Yeah. We're
And
flooded
now
out
people
this
here
side.
couldn't go to the Christian church, you know.
So we
And
need some kind of, something
More like
to,
east and west.
yeah, to have like a public, kind of like a public shelter on each side of town for people to get to safety.
Okay. And there are definite different guidelines regarding like a warming center plus a warming shelter. And
right.
the same would be for storm shelters, I assume. Can you come to the podium, please?
I know, Winona just put in a FEMA shelter. Is that something that the city really look into adding that? You know, I know,
That's just what I was talking about, working with the school
right.
to try to do that.
I know it does take the school cooperation, but I don't know if it's something the city can maybe talk with Winona, because they just went through that process and just opened it, I think this last couple of months.
Right.
Maybe some kind of FEMA grant or something?
It is a FEMA grant. It's through FEMA. I believe it's 100% grant. But to get that, you have to send in a lot of surveys of available shelters and really plead your case, because, everybody's wanting FEMA money.
Right.
And I think, there's a push from the federal government to reduce FEMA. All of my FEMA grants were just put on hold for
Yes.
the next indefinitely time period.
Thanks,
Most
Steph.
definitely. Okay, so we know what we need to check into. But are you willing to sign this is the question.
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't get to read all the way through it.
Can we put this, can we table this and put this in a special meeting or something so we can really look over it and? Would that be an
Well,
option?
let's table it, and if you make a motion to table it,
Would that,
we'll bring it back to the
yeah, I'd like,
council, yes.
I'd like to make a motion to table it, please.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor to table the emergency operations plan? Say aye.
Aye.
I have read through it. If you can find a plan in there, I would enjoy you pointing it out to me. I literally did.
Did you read it?
I read it, and
And there's no plan, is that what you're saying?
there is no, it just gives you a whole bunch of
Well,
multi-agency coordination system, multi-jurisdictional incident.
I'm sure
It
that
just
this came
gives
from the
you-
state.
I tried to read it, Calvin, and I lost so much interest in it, I couldn't
Well,
stay
but it
into
gives
it.
you an awful lot of definitions, but it does not tell anybody in this room what to do. It literally does not. It doesn't say,
Great for this.
there's a storm shelter at West Plains at such and such. There,
We need more information like this.
did you look, I literally did
Because
read
they
it.
dictate to the council.
That's my 2 cents.
Okay, we will bring it back. Okay. The next item is city officials training. The MML conference is in June, and the elected officials training at MML is put on by the Lauber Law Firm. But Lauber is offering the same seminar topics for $35 per attendee. And there is one in Springfield, Missouri on May the 2nd.
What are they now putting on that they wanted in June as, you know?
Pardon?
The differences between this one and the one in June?
There shouldn't be any difference, just that these presentations are part of the MML conference, because there's a lot more than just elected officials training.
The one in June is 2 days. Go up on a Wednesday and, or Thursday morning, however you want to do it. And you stay in conference all day. You get up the next day and you have it again till noon. And then you get to come home. This one here is
But
just.
that's the whole conference. This is just strictly the elected or city officials training seminars that are part of that in Columbia. And it costs the city a whole lot less.
But it's just,
This is more one-on-one than what the conference would be. Because they came down here last year for us. But do any of you want to go to Springfield or even Rolla on May the 16th?
I'll go to Rolla for May the 16th.
Okay, because I need to let any of them know.
Probably the Springfield one in the second. I would still like to know the differences between the two, with 2 full days compared to a partial day.
Well, I haven't received any more information about the MML schedule. Have you, Judy?
no,
Right.
just this year's first one I've heard about this, but,
But this
I
should be
do want
the
to
same
sign up
thing.
for the one in June because people, you learn a lot there. Laws change every year and you get to meet a lot of your reps and talk to them. So,
Okay, Alderman Perry on the 16th, Wallander on the 2nd.
I guess we could go
I'm
to
going
both,
on the
right?
2nd.
We could go
I
to
just
both.
need to send in the names and the,
Do we have a problem with
Names
us
and the
going to
title.
this one and the one in Columbia?
this will cost us a whole lot less, that's the only thing.
I mean, well, we just
This is
wasted a
Yes.
bunch of money here. What's the difference?
I know.
How much is the one in June?
It's $250, I believe, plus the lodging and travel if you turn it in. I don't know what,
It was like $100 last year, wasn't it?
I thought it was $250, but you'd have to look. Because this doesn't give, this just is the same today.
Oh, I get an email from them over. Oh, I can't do that, I got it on airplane mode.
Okay, does anybody else want to sign up for the 2nd or the 16th?
So do we have to choose which one, or do we go?
Oh, I'm gonna go to the June one, because I know it's good.
No, I just need to know so I can send in for Springfield or Rolla if anybody wants to do this $35. The MML, we don't have that information yet.
So my question is, do you have to go to this one or that one, or can you go to both, or?
It's whatever you choose.
Whatever the council votes upon, you can want to pay for.
No, I think we're entitled, without the council's vote, if we go to our seminars for training.
Well, what I'm asking for tonight
Right.
is whoever wants to go on the 2nd or the 16th so I can send it in. And Alderman Perry said the 16th, Alderman Wallander the 2nd. I plan on the 2nd. well, you know we talked about it, but for Eddie to go the second in Springfield or the 16th tomorrow.
I'll do the 16th.
Okay. Do you want to go on either of these or wait until June? I mean, I just need to know so I can get these
Well, I,
names in.
since I'm new and stuff, I just wanna know which one will be the better one for me
I
to.
wanna do both, so I'm gonna do both, because I think the more.
Oh, we learn, okay, I'll do the second.
And if we have to pay for one or the other, I'll pay for one.
Oh, I'll-
on my side.
I can pay for my own, that's not a problem. Because I do need to,
Okay, 2 on the 16th and 3 on the 2nd.
Well, if we're gonna do both, let me on the second too.
okay, and when do we need this turned in?
She's trying.
I'm turning it in. I need to send in,
Or pay for it? Do we
the
pay
city will
35?
pay for it.
Okay,
The city will pay for it.
all
I
right.
just need to send in the names and I think they asked for the title. Maybe your email address. I thought I had that one. Names, title, phone number, email, and any dietary restrictions. And this is for lunch. So we'll get those from you. Jessica, do you have the new ones? Email? Yeah, email.
I do.
Phone number, title, okay.
I'm not,
So
I'll
you got
go
all the
into
information. All right. Okay. And Judy, if you do have an email regarding the June, then if you would forward it to me, then I'll have it for next
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah, it's on June the,
12th and 13th is their lady.
yeah,
official.
I've got, yeah, they send me one every year. They send me one for everything they have up there.
Okay. All right, the next item is, I would like to thank Anderson Home Furnishings and accept on behalf of the city municipal golf course a Midea refrigerator. It's already in the pro shop filled with soda, so we do not have to deal with Pepsi or Coke. We can buy soda much cheaper. And when they had the fountain soda up there, there was a lot of syrup that went bad. So that was a great expense. So again, we thank Anderson Home Furnishings and accept on behalf of the city. Now, the next item is appointment of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Jay Ozai and Jesse Henry no longer are city residents, and Linda Lewis does not want to stay on. So in your packet, I have listed, the current ones are Eric Kaut, Vicky Shute, Karen Gaddy, and Clint Elam. And I'm adding John Uselli, Kathy Van Biver, Vicky Carr, and Catalina Corcoran to this zoning commission. And I guess John left. It's his birthday today. I was going to tell him happy birthday. So, we need,
Did we get a note or something from these people that didn't wanna be on it no more?
I contacted each one of them. Jesse Henry had told the city clerk that he was no longer a resident. I called all of the others, contacted all of them.
Because I feel like if their name, if they've been on here for a while and their name's not on this list, then I'm kinda pushing them off without
Who are
knowing.
you referring to?
Well, there was a couple of them, but, and then there's a couple of the new ones that told me they didn't wanna be on it. So, I'm up in the air on it.
Well, I've talked to all of these people within the last couple of weeks?
Vicki, do you still want to be on it?
I do not want to be on it. I still have a lot of stuff going on, and I just can't focus on that
Oh.
right now.
Oh,
I tried to call, but I think it only doesn't.
okay. I wasn't aware of that.
It's okay.
Is there somebody else that told you no?
Like the older members and stuff, wouldn't it probably be better just to get some kind of statement from them stating they want to step down and just have it on record?
Well, it is my position to appoint the commission, so I don't think it's necessary, but I did talk to Linda Lewis, and she said no to me, that she didn't want to stay on. Has she contacted you?
Well, I heard that she didn't want to get off of it.
I think we should table it for now and contact you.
And I don't want, and it don't matter to me because I don't know nothing about planning and zoning or,
Well, the planning and zoning needs to meet
I
and
understand.
be an organizational meeting, because we have a rezoning request
I
that has
understand
been
that, but I
applied
don't
for, so,
want, you know, if she's saying, hey, I don't want to,
but she didn't tell you herself.
huh?
She didn't tell you herself?
No,
Okay.
but I don't want to not have her name on here and vote for this list here. And
Well, in that case, I can add her name to the list. If she wants to stay on, that's great, but she told me, no, she wasn't going to stay on. So, we'll put Linda Lewis instead of Vicki Carr.
that's fine.
Okay, then I ask for your acceptance of my appointments at the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Make the adjustments.
Yes, replacing Linda Lewis' name with, replacing Vicki Carr's name with Linda Lewis. Are there any other questions?
And there was only two others that she said that didn't want to.
The J. Ozai and Jesse Henry are no longer city residents.
Did you find a revised form, and this don't have nothing to do with this, because I know in 21 they voted, and I was reading on this ordinance back here that they had 9 citizens appointed.
It's in the back. It's the last one.
I didn't read far enough, is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I
It's a
thought the same
minimum
thing.
of 5
And, yeah.
and 2 alternates. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yep.
7, 8. So we have 20.
So do we have a city council member on there?
Yes, Calvin has been on it as a representative of the council.
So his name's not on this list, so are we voting him off?
Is there anybody else that needs to come up here that's not ready?
No, Calvin would be the council representative and then me as the mayor.
So we need to add his name here, so we're not voting him off?
I think you're only voting for the citizens that are going to be on it.
Yes.
Right. I'm just an alternate, I just go and sit.
It's up to you guys.
Is there a motion to approve
I'll make
the
that motion.
citizens? Is there a second?
I think I read Calvin's face.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. Now, there will be an organizational meeting. It was scheduled, last month, it was scheduled for the 14th. It's been changed to the 28th, so there can be an organizational meeting at 5 p.m. And then we have a rezoning request hearing at 6 p.m. And that's why it was changed, because we had to advertise in the newspaper. for the minimum amount of time.
So April the 28th, right?
April the 28th, organizational meeting at 5 PM and a rezoning request hearing at 6 PM here in the council chamber. Okay. The next thing is, there's an event scheduled at the community center by the Lady Cruisers of the Ozarks for an evening awards banquet on Saturday, June the 7th, to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Missouri Regional Women on Wheels Rally. This group has booked the local overnight accommodations in our city, so it is bringing some economy to our city. Since this event will be on city property, Carl Beasley, the caterer for the event, is requesting a waiver of the policy regarding consumption of alcohol, so beer and margaritas can be served at this evening event.
I'll make a motion accepting that.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you. The next item is parking on the west side of Oak Street out here. We've had several questions and concerns about how to park, angle or parallel. And we are proposing that south of the alley would be angle parking, but north of the alley would be parallel parking, because so many people angling where the pavement is level with a sidewalk,
Is
they're
that most
coming
of
way
the
up on the
city hall?
sidewalk. And John Muselli has volunteered a crew to complete the striping after it's decided which way we're going to park.
So you're wanting parallel parking over there?
On this side,
And what about on the other side?
it's all parallel parking on the east
Right,
side.
that's what I thought.
So, would you come to the podium? I'm sorry. Your name just went. Ian Conley, sorry about that.
Ian Connolly here. I have two different buildings on this road here. I'd much prefer the parking to be at an angle because it quadruples the amount of parking available for people. If you parallel park, realistically, it's like 1 out of 4 cars can park in the same amount of spots that you angle park. If we're really worried about cross traffic, which there isn't that much, I've been here for a decade, there's not that much traffic down the road. We could make it one way. That'd be a possible option, a little bit trickier on that option. Realistically, if we put stripes in and we didn't have people with gigantic trucks parking here, we should be fine.
But we got an issue them coming up on the sidewalk, right?
Well, that would be,
barrier
that'd be
parking?
a barrier, a curb stop,
Curb
a
stop.
traditional, fix on that. I did talk to Ron at Ron's Family Restaurant, and he did approve of the angle parking rather than the perpendicular parking there. He didn't, he wants it how it is, currently, where it's at that angle parking.
Out here, you're still talking about out. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Okay,
he would lose business, no big deal park.
okay.
So,
I think it needs to be painted at a more angle than what they're parking. Some of them is just coming in
Straight almost.
Straight and just leaving.
I noticed that over in front of the old Walgreens building. Yes, please.
I'm Abby Schlotman. I also own a building here on Oak Street. To what Ian said, that if you look at any given time when people used to park parallel, the maximum cars from the end of the block to the alley, and then from the alley to the end of the block, was 4 per side, so that's 16 cars. Part of it was because there's never been any lines. Part of it was because the road was in such bad condition, you were literally driving around potholes. But if you look right now, or when this meeting started, there was space, there were 8 vehicles present, parked angle from the alleyway to the end of City Hall. 8 vehicles, and there was room for at least 3 more vehicles. If you eliminated the parking parallel, which is approximately 8 spots, and allowed for the striping of 11 spots in this section, and then you can fit more spots on the next alley section, because that section is longer. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, Eddie, but I do believe it's about 20 feet longer of building footage. So that's up to 13 spots. That's 23 spots if you only parked at angles. And if you've seen the length of vehicles, If you watch how people travel, all the kids that walk on this street walk on the east side. They walk on that side, and it is very concerning when you have somebody trying to parallel park and somebody trying to back out. I don't think you need to make it one-way traffic at all. I think that it might be beneficial and kind of a compromise to both groups, and keeping in mind safety and the number of spots available. If you just made no parking on the other side of the street, and if you look at other downtown areas that are working on revival, look at Eminence, go to Donovan, some of those other areas that have a similar, not the same, most of them have town squares, but Eminence doesn't. If you look, their spaces where the road is constricted or there's elevation issues, it's parking on one side of the street. And that's how they've solved their problem, to keep it safe, get as many spots in there as possible, and the curb stops are almost essential, because I watch some of these bigger trucks sometimes. You could even still do a loading zone on the Oak Street side, which might help with some alleyway congestion. If nobody was parked there, then those big Cisco trucks that are coming through the alley that look like they're gonna tear the buildings down. I mean, I have seen them hit the awning on Ian's building. It didn't go down when they hit it. That's the only place though, because there's not a loading zone or no parking zone, there's nowhere else for those big trucks to go and be able to be sure that they could turn around. But if the side that wasn't parking was allowed to be loading, then the businesses on both sides of the street would be able to get their supplies with no extra travel from the guys who are delivering, and it would be safer for everybody. For the overheads, those H's and uprights, you get a new driver in delivering Cisco in this area, and I mean, it takes two of them and a 5-point turn sometimes to get in and out of the alley, because they can't come up and down this street. They can't make a delivery on this street. It's just something to consider, and I think you have ample spots. Again, I'm here a lot, Ian's here quite a bit, and we've seen it both ways. The way that's going now isn't working. A lot of vehicles are too long to be parked that way and still have other vehicles on the other side. And we have a beautiful large public parking area. And anytime somebody has to walk past a business, they are twice as likely to go in and spend money in that business. And so you're actually helping downtown businesses by encouraging people to walk past other businesses to get to their destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have angle all west side, leave parallel over there, or angle all west side, no parking over there, but designated loading zone.
You might want to ask what Ron's Restaurant has to say about
So that's what Ian
Yeah.
had relayed his message.
I did ask him about just the angled parking, and he was approving of that because of it, like Abby's saying, it
no
does
parking out in
kind
front
of
of his
quadruple there.
restaurant.
I did not mention about the no parking in front of his business, so, but I do like that idea overall. I think that would make sense, especially if we angled and we striped this side of the road.
Okay, and actually, I'll tell you, I drive one of
And
the,
Angel Garden wants angled as well as vintage.
I'm one of the guys that drives the truck she was just describing. I drive one of the full-size extended four-door trucks. I drive one of the trucks that she's describing, has trouble getting in and out of those. I'm a retired truck driver. I drove, well, it wasn't Cisco, but it was one of those type trucks, getting in and out of the alleys. The scenarios that she's describing, I hate to say you're right, not because, not because of anything, because I don't like the not parking on the other side, but she's exactly right. That's the best thing you could do with this area. As when I was delivering, if they would have had a loading zone like that, I would have loved that town, because getting in and out of this alley is a nightmare. I haven't done this specific one, but this town is duplicated throughout the Midwest a million times. I have been in this town, in several places in Missouri, Kansas, different states, but I've been in this town throughout the Midwest, all over the place. And I don't know how, I couldn't even tell you how many times I cussed these alleys and said if you people had any sense at all, you'd find someplace to do it. She described the best way that you will ever find to do this. Ron's customers are gonna grumble a little bit. Everybody is gonna grumble just a little bit. I'm gonna be one of those, I promise you I will grumble if you vote to do this. But if you vote to do this and do it just exactly like she described, you're doing the best thing that you can do for this downtown area.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask you to come to the podium.
You want me to go up there and say it again? I don't want to. But I'm sorry, I know I was supposed to, but it was the best, I would have never thought about it, but that is the best thing that you could ever possibly do.
Be safer.
Well, then are we gonna angle
And yes, it'll be safer to come in and out, because I just about hit cars every time I back out.
Ask him if he has anything to add to this, because what I'm getting is Angle Park,
So,
all on this west side, all the way down with bump stops where we need them, and no parking over there at all, but have designated one loading zone close to the alley, is that,
I would
say
say
the
the
whole
whole side.
or the whole side would be
Just
The whole
loading
side's a
only?
loading
Yeah,
zone,
yeah,
so.
because if you think about
You know,
even
15
Foster's, even Foster's Appliance, when they're getting their stuff on Mondays, you sometimes start to make that turn before you see that there's a truck stopped. And they're going, they've got a truck stop so traffic isn't going.
You're supposed to
They're
be up there.
going, oh, I'm sorry. Do I come stand up there next to you, son? I mean, I'm pretty loud. I can generally project enough for people to hear. But Foster's, same thing, you know, their drivers, delivery drivers, would actually have an easier way if there was a designated loading zone that they could use, because the sidewalk is nice, it's even, they would probably be like, I would much rather do this than thread the needle of pulling my dolly with boxes of appliances in between two parallel parked cars on Front Street.
And every one of those, the Mexican restaurant, every one of those businesses on Front Street, it'll be a pain in the butt for you guys. For every cop in town is gonna hate it for a little bit. No longer have trucks stopped on Front Street. If they're stopped on Front Street, get your butt off Front Street, get over here, and unload on the loading zone over here.
Unload on Oak Street?
Unload on Oak
Trolley
Street.
it to
And trot it down there. When I was driving, if they would have said that, I would have been thrilled to death, because yeah, it's a little farther to go, but when I come out of my truck, I'm not gonna have a Fiat run over me. Because Hondas hurt when they hit you. I don't care if they're a little bitty car, they still make a dent.
Okay. Do you have something to add or comment?
Yes, so a couple of years ago, John asked me to draft up what it would look like to have loading zones for Front Street. And I did, and the best way to do it is to have them on Elm Street and there to that turn off by the gazebo, and have them come across the road, and it's equally the same length without blocking the highway. So I drafted that for John, I could get that to you, I can email it to you when I send him. But I do agree with what the citizens say, the loading zone and then the side parking, angle parking. As long as you can make the angle tight, like really tight,
Yeah,
tighter than what it is on Front Street, it would work. It's just, you just need signage. As long as you have enough signs that says no parking, loading zone only, because that way we could go and say, look, you're gonna get a ticket. Instead of saying, just fighting with somebody saying, no one told me. So, if you're gonna do that, just have signage.
Do you think we ought to ask all those business owners over there if they have a problem with it without making them mad?
Well, she's the alley.
Yeah, I own 25%, so
Right.
how many votes do I get? I own 3 commercial locations there.
But you already said Angel Garden and
So-
Ron.
And then
We did
he
talk to
owns
Angel
another
Garden.
So it'd be these
25%.
two over here then.
Yeah, no, we did talk to
Yeah.
Angel Gardens, the pawn shop and Ron's about the angled parking, and they wanna keep it at that angled parking. Did not talk about the loading zone, so to be fair to them, maybe we'll discuss it with them.
I would like to make one more statement in response, if that's okay, just one
Pardon?
statement.
May I make one more statement just in response to what Ms.
Thank you,
said?
Jamie. Yes,
I understand the desire to make everyone happy, but you can't always make everybody happy, and you guys are elected to make the right choices for the city as a
It
whole.
wasn't that, but you talked to Ron's and you talked to Angel Garden or whatever. I just wanted them included in the conversation regardless. They can't say, well, nobody even mentioned it to me. That's my, you know what I'm saying? I don't want nobody left out of the conversation.
I think it'd be fair if we had this at another
Whether we
meeting,
make them happy or
give them a chance for someone here.
I want them in the conversation.
But I do like the idea of the loading zones and angled parking,
Yeah.
so.
okay, so do I have a motion to bring this back to the table?
Just, how many concrete deals we have down there?
I'll have to look and see.
Parking?
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I'll have to check and see if we can get a count on
Because this side doesn't meet them.
Really doesn't need
Just
it, but
this
this side
order.
over here.
It's approximately 11 spaces. I pasted off today and counted the cars that were there. I sit at my desk looking out this window and it's like big television, you know, I mean, I'm watching how people are driving on this street and I have been for 3+ years. It's the same thing all the time.
I
The
know
exact
we have
same
a few,
thing.
I just don't know exactly how many we got.
Are you talking about the bumper stop?
Yeah.
We already have
But
some.
they'd have to be double stacked.
Well, it's dangerous right out here because the people pull up on that sidewalk
Right.
and I'm afraid they're gonna hit somebody.
Mhm.
We don't have to stop right in front of them either.
Okay, so we're looking at what bumper stops the city already has. We will contact all of the,
I've watched them on Front Street
businesses.
for 10 years.
They could run over.
Okay. We had a motion to table, we haven't got a second?
I'm not sure who made the motion.
Okay, let's back up. Who made the motion to table? Okay, we need a motion if that's what you wish.
I'll make a motion to table.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll bring this back with more information and, okay. The next are just informational, the Ozark Small Business Incubator, sent some information and, one of the things that they're offering tours. If any of the council members are interested, just let me know and we can schedule a time to go over and see what they're doing. I do know that they are working with the Chamber of Commerce. In fact, at the chamber meeting tomorrow, it's going to be someone from OSPIS that is the speaker. So that's just informational. Let me know if you want to schedule a tour and I can contact them.
Great.
And the last thing is the municipal golf course event schedule. It has been posted at the course and on Facebook. We just wanted to get it to you guys. The first page is what is happening at our municipal golf course, and then there's information on South Central tournaments. So, with that,
Madam
I just
Mayor,
have some-
you still have bill number 1428 from
Oh,
old business.
that's right. The bill number 1428. That was tabled for, it was in the very, very front. Okay, a little background on this, and it is provided over the table, so we just read from title, but early last year, there was outside counsel. And this is one of the recommendations that they gave to us. The others have been taken care of, and with the elected officials training, the rules of order that was passed. This is for a code of ethics for the Board of Aldermen and other city officials. The only thing that we have on the books now is the conflict of interest regarding the financial disclosure of any, events of over $500. So this is just a code of ethics policy. Do you have anything to add to this?
No, like you said, there was an independent investigative counsel who came in after some incidents during the prior administration. They made a series of recommendations based on those incidents. One of them was that an ethics policy be put in place for council and other elected official conduct, because right now there is really no, outside of like impeachment, there's not really anything that can be done to any elected official who does something that they are not supposed to do. So that lays out various different kind of rules of conduct, how you're going, how everybody is agreeing that they are going to conduct themselves as an elected official, and then what is going to happen if you don't do that. Obviously, the end is still impeachment. That's kind of the be-all, end-all, but with some in-between steps for if things aren't quite that bad, but somebody is behaving in a way that they shouldn't, whether it's to other council members, citizens, employees, things like that.
Yeah, it's elected and appointed public officials.
Right.
And I think one of the things that Alderman Coulter had, when we first started reviewing this, was the use of public resources. Because you had brought that to the attention. And it is in this.
Well, what did concern me about it was up here where it said, public elected officials shall not direct or request service from city staff, but shall forward all requests to concerns to the mayor or the operation manager. We always went in to the city clerk and asked for papers, and I mean, the public can walk off the street and go in and do a sunshine law. So sometimes the mayor's not there, sometimes the operation manager's not there, so
Can you speak to that?
So technically, if it's not something that the board has basically requested as a board and you are just coming in, you are also supposed to do a sunshine request, because if you are just coming in off the street outside of a board without having been authorized to do so to get special information, you're just a citizen. A council member doesn't have anything special that a normal citizen doesn't also have unless you are acting as a board or have been appointed to act by the board to do something. So.
that's not what you're told in Jeff City. Not Jeff City.
So that's what I've always been told in the conferences that I go to.
And as far as this here, I think maybe we need to have a work on it and let the whole council sit down instead of just some people drawing it up. I think the council ought to have a work study on it.
Okay, make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we have a work study on it, or
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor to move this to a work study or work session? All in favor say aye, unless there's any further discussion. If none, okay.
aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Now, I do want to commend our employees during the storm emergency. It was rough all over town for everybody. and we've learned some lessons that need to be implemented. But again, everyone did work extra hours to see that the city was taken care of as best as possible. And I think we had a successful citywide yard sale this past weekend. There seemed to be a lot of interest. And I want to just remind everyone that the citywide cleanup is the week of the 21st on the regular trash routes. The brush pickup will be the week of May the 19th. We still need any surveys back for that CDBG qualification. If you know of anybody that received one of those surveys and haven't sent it back to us, please let us know. They were sent out as anonymous, so there was no tracking. So it has to be by word of mouth now. We put it on Facebook and we put it in the newspaper, but we do need those back. The city offices and operations will close at noon on Good Friday, April the 18th. And that's all that I have. I call now for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we go into closed session.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Is there any discussion?
What are we going to close session for?
For personnel, and then we said, well, Goldie's gonna go in and talk about comp time because she said it
Okay.
was closed session.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Coulter?
Aye.
Alderman Long? Alderman
Aye.